Okay, so let's send a challenge.
Here is challenging. Nice graphics, easy to see. What are you thinking about? You're looking how it can be the most painful?
Exactly. Okay, fine.
That I give up a phone. He wants to be even rude.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
When I saw her for the first time, it was love at first sight. I love how rich and complex she is, how sharp and principled her first steps, how graceful her movement. Paris is a city of love. I've come to find my love for the French defense.
I'm ahead of the game. Well, the phone is always ringing. I'm caught up on the line. Got a string around my finger. Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm only ever slinging. I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy. Logically, I'm impossibly wanted. Then they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Well, I'm ahead now. Well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game.
E5, it's E5 Patzers.
A complete repertoire against 1E4 based on 1E5, now available to study with Chessable's unique Move Trainer technology. The backbone is the Marshall Gambit against the Spanish, with 3 Knight F6 against the Italian. Jan Gustafsson has revisited all these lines he has played for 20 years and worked on as a second for Peter Lecco and Magnus Carlsen, amongst others, with the help of the most powerful engines out there, Leela 0 and Stockfish 10. This has led to many new discoveries and a repertoire ready to master on Chessable that can serve the student for a long chess career.
Maybe E4 doesn't exist after all.
E5, it's E5 Patzers.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game. And get paired with players from around the world, fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the third round of the FIDE Grand Prix, the second FIDE Grand Prix, playing in Belgrade. My name is Gustafsson. Peter Svidler, how are things?
Things are as they are. Have definitely been better. But there is some chess to watch, so, you know.
Did FIDE just play 1 c3 against Shirov?
Probably not, no.
No, it's the pawn got taken back. It was just a test. What chess you want to watch?
Any chess, frankly, by this point. give me some chess to watch and I will watch it. Yeah, let's choose a group with Sam is the leaders clash in the Shanklin group, as we will call it. That's the chess to watch, maybe. Andreikin with the white pieces against Sam.
What's Andreikin doing nowadays? Is he still a Trompovsky exponent?
Don't think so. No, I think he's
he's
gone mainstream. Yeah, it's his electric period.
And Sam, he wants to Grunfeld it up.
Or at least attempt to.
Excellent opening. I heard there's 2 courses, chessable.com/Peter, that teach you all the details.
So very many details, yes.
On to d5. Here we go.
Overabundance of details, yeah.
If takes, you take with a knight, and then after e4 you take, and now you try to attack the white center. That looks powerful.
That would be the general gist of things, yeah.
Like bishop g7, c5, knight c6, then bishop g4 if a knight comes here, short castles.
Yes.
Queen a5.
Something along those lines, yeah. I can't really recall what Dmitry does against the... I think he played some sidelines against me. I think he played e3, queen b3 against me once in...
Trying to get you guys info here, but it's all behind the paywall, like the plans.
It is very much,
chessable.com/Peter. He wants to talk about e3, queen b3. That looks very threatening. So we cover the pawn, like e6?
The pawn is hanging, yeah, e6? But... Yeah, I like e6, yeah. And, the game is memorable. If that actually was against him, the game is kind of memorable by the fact that I was winning by move 8 with the black pieces.
Must have done something like this, no? Like, how do you lose here?
Yeah, like I played c6, a5, and he played knight f3, bishop e2. E6, queen a3, c6, a5, yeah. Yeah. In some order, I don't remember exactly the order. I think c6, and he just went bishop e2 here, and I took on c4, and that's a bit of a problem.
Oh, what's coming?
Yeah, that wasn't great.
In the game, in the meantime, cd5, knight e5, e4, knight c3, bc on the board, bishop g7. And yeah, my question still stands. How do we attack the center? What's Sam gonna do?
Well, knowing the rules of this relationship, I'm not going to say c5 against most moves, because this will backfire horribly. But
why against most moves? How would that backfire? Against most sensible moves, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously, still very much a starting position, and we'll see what Dmitry does. I think in terms of things that go well with what I assume what my feeling is of his chess style, some sort of bishop e3 seems logical, but I think currently bishop c4 is probably the most fashionable thing.
That's not how he rolls. I have no idea what he's going to do, but bishop c4 doesn't feel like such a big territory, very concrete.
Not a very Andreikin-like territory.
Knight f3, c5, bishop b5 check. I could see, depending on how ambitious he feels. There are some small ideas there, but nothing to write home about. And the big question, I was going to ask after knight takes e5, is Etienne going to play knight c6? But it turns out it still hasn't caught on in top-level chess. Maybe they don't have YouTube.
Yeah, they must be banned from YouTube somehow.
So Etienne goes d6. What's the best square here? Here, here, here.
I like knight f7, but it's
aggressive.
Very, very, but
I think it doesn't work.
Probably doesn't quite work. Yeah, it's I don't know if Sasha's actually thinking here, or maybe he went to have a smoke or whatever. But I'm assuming knight f3 happens, but
very early to go, because d6 you usually can expect to be played quickly. And yeah, he goes back to f3. Not like Magnus Carlsen, who recently played knight d3 in a world championship match. Twice,
yeah.
Knight f3, by far the main move. Knight takes e4. Now what would you do? Knight c3, d4?
Sasha, I think, is not a big knight c3 proponent, even though at some point it clearly was the absolute main move in this position. But I think Sasha normally goes d4.
He's a d4 guy, yeah?
Yeah, pretty sure that's his main line against Petrov, and has been for the vast majority of his games. Although, I mean, clearly he knows knight c3 and can play knight c3 if required. But
also, given that he has 0 out of 2 and he's clearly affected by what's happening, it's a question how much of a fighting mood he's in. But with white against Etienne, and if he wants to make something up in this tournament, he has to win.
Yeah, they've worked together in the past. They have a very good relationship. But yeah, if he wants to try and make something out of this tournament, and he has played in the first one, so for him, getting out of the group is absolutely paramount. And I mean, 0 out of 2, you don't really rate his chances very highly, but he's definitely not the kind of a person who just kind of gives up and stops trying. So
I thought he sort of, well, gives up is the wrong word, but he stops caring once he can't make it anymore.
Yeah, but 0 out of 2 is still...
We haven't reached that point yet.
Yeah, you still aren't mathematically out. Yeah, let's say if he fails to win today, it does become mathematically very difficult to imagine, and then the second half might actually turn into an exercise in let's finish all of my games.
Just to brag, bishop b5 check.
Very nicely done, yeah, very nicely done. This is very topical, and yeah, has seen some developments recently.
The knight went here.
Yeah. Well, that clearly is not the move. That's okay.
Sorry, keep switching.
Yeah, for a second there, it showed King f1 on this board, but yeah, clearly King f1 is just a momentary digity glitch. Yeah, castles. Yeah,
King f8 also didn't happen. I guess.
Yeah, that also didn't happen.
Their boards, they struggle a bit. Like they're too sensitive to piece crossing square.
Yeah, they do seem to be slightly overtuned. Bishop, I'm a bit surprised by this because d5 definitely, I thought became the most serious option there, and even though weirdly, I think what I played against Nikita in the World Cup is actually quite decent and probably solves the issue. It is sort of one game, and I thought perhaps people could try to sort of fine-tune what Nikita was doing. But yeah, this line actually is also kind of fashionable. One of the Indian youngsters won a very nice game in Riga in this line, I think, on the white side of it.
Yeah, I think I'm also be mixing up. I think Pragna and I played this. Yeah, this Queen C2.
Yeah, so takes
4,
takes 5. I think this is how it went, right? Queen d4, bishop b2, and then queen goes to a square on the b file. Rook a b1. Yeah, I have a feeling this is how that game went.
I don't think that's how it goes.
Let me actually look this up. Bishop b, yeah, and queen b4 here or something. Yeah, that could also be. Hang on.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, there was also that game against David Navarra. There were two kind of very interesting games. One was possibly with black being played by Adiban, and there was also a game somebody against Navarra. But yeah, things are kind of blending together in my head as usual.
We shall see.
We shall see. Yeah.
I'm familiar with this line. It's a decent try, obviously, against the computer. You're not gonna win, but white, although he's willing to sacrifice a pawn, sort of long-termish, does not really take any strategic risk because whatever the move order is in these types of positions. It's very hard for black to convert the extra pawn with the opposite color bishops. Well, white has the better king, as long as there are still many heavy pieces on the board. So it's a decent try, and this queen c2, yeah, the new angle compared to the good old bishop e3-ish lines. But nothing that should catch Sam off guard. He goes bishop g4.
Yeah, I do think that there was a game going like this, yeah, in Riga, but I'm no longer really very sure of anything. But I mean, 95 kind of looks like you have to do it, because otherwise it's very unclear what you're doing.
Yeah, that is the point.
With your life, compared to like the old main line, which was of course bishop e3 on move 11, with or without the capture on d4 early. Yeah, there was the old line: bishop g4, rook c1, bishop f3, queen f3, bishop takes d4. But here, at least after rook fd1 and c5, white does have rook takes c5. Arguably, this is still a draw after bishop takes e3, and people have been kind of trying and mostly, I think, succeeding to make in making that draw. But at least you have an advantage. With the queen on c2 instead of the rook on the c file, you just can't play that, because c6, c5 will protect the bishop very efficiently.
Yep.
So yeah, feels like you are sort of obliged to go 95 now. Extremely annoying to me that I can't figure out how that game went. I think it's queen b6, rook a b1, bishop b5, bishop b5.
Let's say get this.
a6, f3.
You were right again.
f3, bishop b6, bishop a1 or something. Or maybe queen c5 here. Yeah, I was there in the playing hall, but that obviously doesn't guarantee anything these days. White definitely has very, very serious compensation for the pawn. The engine suggests it's a draw. I remember briefly checking what the machine thought about this after watching the game. And yeah, it suggests everything holds there for black, but you do have to be precise, and you are never, ever better despite being seemingly a healthy pawn up.
Board froze already? Giving up, board? Give us a black bishop somewhere.
Yeah, board declines to make the bishop reappear, apparently. Yeah.
Board gone.
Board gone, yeah. All my apes gone. It'll be back. Worry not, dear viewer.
I'm a little worried. What do? We don't have a board anymore? We just talk for 5 hours?
Yeah, we just cast blindfold, and by cast I mean talk about random topics.
Yeah. I feel like I'm out-talked, not just because of the world situation, but I have like 5 thoughts, and I've said them all many a time.
Yeah.
And now that there are no more like consensus cultural things or events to talk about, because everyone is just watching or following their niche stuff somewhere, I feel there's nothing left to say.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not interested in any of the action on the chessboard. So this might be it.
Yeah, this might be the end. Sad.
Very sad. What's going on here? Should I do something? No, we're back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're okay. Yeah.
All right. So bishop g4, 95. This was what we were trying to figure out. What went where? Yeah, like which rook was it? Maybe there was some.
I think it was a b1 actually. I think the pawn on a2 was also left hanging. And here the point, of course, is that if the bishop goes somewhere, like if you play bishop b6 here, it's not knight takes c6 as I understand it. It's knight takes g6, which really hurts, creating a lot of immediate threats.
And so you got to take.
Yeah, so that's I finally found it. Yeah, it's the Prague Adiban game, which went, takes, queen a6. He played queen c5 here, rook f8, bishop c3. He was definitely still blitzing up to this point, I remember that. And the machine remains not entirely impressed and continued saying 0-0-0 up until somewhere around move 25, where Adiban somewhat uncharacteristically made one miscalculation and the game was just gone. It does look kind of scary for black, because basically you would like to play f6, and specifically, in particular, if you could get f6 and d5 blocking off the bishop on c3, that would be very nice. But white is pretty much always ready to meet f6 with e4, e5 of their own. The bishop on g4 is it's very difficult to find a good square for it, because once again, you would like it maybe to go to e6, then f6, bishop f7, but bishop e6 pretty much always loses immediately to queen e5. So you can't really organize that, since that leads to either mate or losing that bishop. All in all, it's a kind of an awkward position for black to play, despite the fact that, for instance, after bishop c3, you can take on a2, which is what Adiban actually did, and you're not even one of your 2 pawns up there. But the compensation persists, and from a purely practical standpoint, I think it's much easier to play with white. But Sam is still blitzing, and yes, it was a sort of a high-profile enough game, I think, considering it was played in Grand Swiss and was played by 2, obviously very strong Indian players. I'm really sure.
Well, there are other games here as well. No, Dubov played this like this. There's plenty of action in this Queen C2 business. And it's a typical choice, I also thought, for Andrekian. It has some venom, but it's still a small enough area that you don't have to learn all the bishop c4 business.
Yeah. And just on the topic of Indian youngsters having fantastic ideas in the opening, I just wanted to show one position from that other game I mentioned. If after queen c2, cd4, cd4, you play bishop a6, which is what David Navarro did against Nihal later in the same tournament, that game followed, like, the following sequence was just so striking, at least to me. Nihal played rook d1, Navarro played c5, I think, feeling quite content with things. D takes c5, bishop takes a1, and in this position, Nihal just played bishop h6, You have this queen hanging on d8, I don't care, I just need to put more things on Prix. And I think Nihal was winning, at least at some point in the game, and then in mutual time trouble, I think he made a mistake and it was a draw. But bishop h6 was definitely one of the most striking moves I have seen made recently. When you see it done on the chessboard, you kind of realize what the reasoning is. But still, I remember seeing it live and thinking, that's some high tech there from Nihal.
Was it the best move?
I think it is.
Take the queen, Nihal.
Take the queen, yeah. And that concludes the impromptu Grunfeld lecture.
All right, shall we look at some other games?
Yeah, probably good to do that, yeah.
This is a line I know. Nikita against Tabatabai. The classical Queen's Gambit declined, although via a funky move order. You usually, of course, would get this via, let's say, this. But this move order Nikita chose is not unheard of, particularly to get this position. And Tabatabai is trying to force the issue with bishop to f5. If black can do this without being punished, he just solves his problems instantly by developing his bishop. So white goes for queen f3. Funny looking move, but very much the critical line. And this endgame for a while was championed by a certain Vladimir Kramnik, but he lost a painful game to Magnus Carlsen in Norway chess. I think we were there. When was that? 2016? Time goes by.
Yeah, we definitely covered that live, I remember. And there was some, I don't know exactly how playful, but there was definitely some thanking of the, I think he credited Jon, right? Jon Ludwig for the idea of going 92, somewhere around here.
Must have been a long time ago then. Knight h4.
I think Vlad played not bishop e7 here, though, right? Or was it?
Yeah, bishop e7 is the latest fashion. I think he played something like knight b6. Knight b6, I'm not sure. But the stunning move was this knight to e2, allowing bishop b4 check, king d1, just trying to get a grip on that square. And it just seemed to work. Don't quote me on knight b6, but I think...
Yeah, probably actually wasn't knight b6, because then knight c8...
Very scary, that's why I'm wondering.
Yeah, knight c8, knight d6 would have been in time, actually, and the entire plan starts looking a bit silly. But, yeah, was the game that kind of reignited the idea that white might be better in this entire line. But I think they've been holding it again. I think they've been...
anything holds, but it put it, I don't know, a bit out of fashion. No? I think at the highest level, people used to think this was a block, and then they had second thoughts. And no, the Kramnik game actually was bishop e7 as well.
Okay, yeah.
Bishop e7, knight e2, and here he went knight b6. Apologies.
Yeah, and that actually wasn't fast enough. But yeah, these days they just go f5, and if g3, I think they just snap on h4, right? And they say, this looks unbelievably ugly, but I don't care. I will make a draw eventually, despite having a pawn on g6, which will remain a pawn for the rest of the game, pretty much.
I think even Kramnik himself had a game with white here, which he failed to win. After f5, g3 against Nisipiano, maybe. Yeah, not pretty, but apparently white doesn't have enough resources to win. So Vityugov goes knight to f3 back, which I guess is the latest wrinkle here. Abandoning his operation on the king side for now. And
yeah, I'm not quite sure how this works out for white, because knight f4, I assume we just very happily take on f4 and then go bishop h5, because you know,
I think you want to do more shuffling, no? Every day I'm shuffling. Yeah, 91, 93, and arrange them like that.
And bishop h5, we play f3 or we ignore it?
Anything wrong with f3? No.
Well, I mean, I would like to provoke it, but I guess I'd like the quote-unquote weakening of the e3 pawn is not really all that much of a weakening. So, yeah.
But even ignoring it, I don't know, like, how happy are you here?
I'm not happy, but here is unnecessary in that statement. But
yeah, it's a serious question. I can never tell, like, how bad these positions are. I know the computer always likes white somewhat, but I guess one has to dig deeper trying to figure out if white can actually break where and how.
Yeah, I'm not sure myself. Yeah, it feels like it shouldn't really be that bad. I can like go king e7, king f6, put the knight on e6, I suppose, via the f8 square or something, and claim that getting to the f5 pawn will be extremely difficult. But
yeah, still, white gets to have all the fun now. I could even...
Yeah, absolutely.
The knight is here. I can think of some minority attack in the future.
And yeah, what else we got? We got
Kita knows what's up.
Not necessarily, no.
What? He doesn't know what's up?
Yeah, I thought you... yeah, I misheard you. I thought you were talking about me, and I wanted to refute that preposterous idea.
No. I would never praise you and give you the chance to be self-deprecating. No worries.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the open Spanish in the
Bishop h5 play, by the way.
Yeah. Seems like, you know, considering the fact that black will be just kind of knocking on the table and saying pass or check or whatever it is that they do in your culture of choice for much of the rest of the game, you might as well make a semi-active move here and pretend.
Actually, yeah, if I do my silly f3 move, you're in time to cover the square. So I guess I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once again, how happy am I taking on f4 twice here? Not that. I mean, then again, it's not really that horrible either. I just f6 and then bring the bishop over. Yeah.
I don't know.
Eventually.
Okay, moving on. Hare Krishna Giri, long theoretical debate. Anish will know this. It's the open Spanish.
Yeah, but that's sort of the old way of treating this line. People have moved very much, I thought, on from the bishop b3, bishop d4 theory. Actually, a bit surprised to see it, but maybe they found something new, because this is what used to be the main line here before people started playing all the newfangled, like rook e1, h3, b4, g4, very, very sharp lines, which seem to be the norm these days. And in my memory, this always used to be completely nothing. I lost a game like this myself with white to Alexander Motodev once, trying to prove white has something. I kind of overpressed and got destroyed. But in general, there are some very, very long theoretical lines here, but they all seem
on d3 here. This just exchanges pawns, no?
Yeah, we take on b3, I guess, right? Because queen, if you take on a6, we can take on d4 and b2.
We have time to take here again.
We could, but then after b takes c3, I don't know how we win the pawn back, right? Now I can go rook a6, knight b4 exists. Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I'd be happy, but I'm probably not that happy now.
Hope you're feeling happy now.
Then maybe we actually include BC, because from a positional viewpoint, I think it's useful for black. Yep, there we go. Obviously, queen takes c3, bishop b4 is not a particularly attractive option.
Anish doesn't seem particularly rattled by this turn of events.
Yeah, I think he probably has seen this position before. And, having started with 2 out of 2, he, of course, will be delighted if he just makes a draw according to some analysis today with the black pieces against one of his 2 closest pursuers. Top actually not true.
Harry has half out of 2.
Yeah, because he might
still be in his top 2 close pursuers. But
yeah, sort of, yeah. He was completely winning yesterday, and I kind of, for a second there, I thought maybe he got back to 50%, but he did not. Yeah. So b takes, queen takes b3, then the queen normally, like ideal scenario, it goes back all the way to e6, which is a very good square, since it can't really be challenged by very much. We would very happily snap the knight on g5 if it ever appears there. And we also have an outside passer, which is not nothing.
Come in handy.
Yeah.
It's the type of position where with white, if you don't know exactly what's happening and you're drifting a bit between playing for a win and trying to make a draw, like things could.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking for a forced draw here.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if unless e5 e6 is good, and actually the one way to continue here, which I sort of immediately no longer think quite as worse, is some kind of e6 fe and then a move, queen e4 or whatever. But the suspicion is it's some kind of a forced draw after, let's say, queen d5, yeah. Has to just be completely equal somehow.
Doesn't look like white is better, no?
Yeah, just bishop d6.
Not worse, but...
Yeah, we shouldn't lose, but we're never better, yeah. There's an outside passer on a6, which we're not attacking, so... Clearly, you can't really fight for advantage here with white.
All right. Guirino did his homework, as he tends to.
Yeah.
This is say, yeah, he probably does his homework, but then he does something else over the board.
Yeah, queen d3, b6, and then c takes d5 is a quirk I did not expect. Because, like, you play queen d3 seemingly with the intention of playing e4, and then you don't play e4 anyway. But I guess after bishop a6, it gets a bit awkward, yeah. Knowing that I say if I wouldn't really bishop...
Well, we'll play queen c2.
Yeah, just play queen c2 here, give up a pawn somewhere, and just go. But instead he says this is now a good exchange Slav. So I'll play the exchange Slav. I'm not quite sure why it's supposed to be so great though.
That's so good. The bishop on a6 doesn't look horrible, no? After
like cd5, knight e5 maybe with some queen a4 check ideas.
Knight ft7 would be normal.
Queen a4 anyway. Well, we don't actually have any threats, right? Just bishop b6 and castles. Yeah. Yeah. Seems completely fine for black, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
But I mean, he has been known to just kind of bluff things in the opening. The fact that he's doing this extremely quickly does not really, in case of Fedosseev, really does not tell you anything at all. He's one of the people on the circuit who you very confidently can say, you know, depending on the day, it could mean he has everything prepared, or he just decided to make moves today without really thinking about them very much.
It's like Jan Nepomniachtchi in the old days.
In the old
days, he just has everything prepared.
Not anymore, I guess, yeah, but...
Levon also had this, where, well, even though with Levon, usually there would be 20 moves of prep, and then he would bluff 5 more moves, splitting them out. Which is probably not a horrible strategy.
Yeah, I mean, Vlad clearly is not enjoying how this is going for sure, because he had a poor position he saved in round 1, and then he also had a poor position in round 2, and he almost saved it, and then kind of threw it away on move 41, trying... I don't know his reasoning. Maybe he thought he was in trouble after king g8 and we're just missing something that he could have been afraid of, but really did feel that he lost that game specifically because he wanted to continue playing it, despite not being better in any single variation there. Just doesn't like the idea of repeating moves if there are new moves to be made. So yeah, -1 after 2 rounds, not ideal. Bishop f4 played instead of my knight e5 move, which is probably stronger because it creates a threat of bishop takes b8, while also developing a piece and just kind of doing the things that you want to be doing. The question is, can I play bishop d6? Yeah. Do I lose? I mean, lose definitely not, but is queen a4 check a good move or a bad move? Because b5 exists. And I can't figure out if it's good or bad. Yeah, like knight b5, bishop f4. e3 maybe here. Kind of curious, yeah. But bishop takes e3. I'm getting very carried away.
Even something like this, yeah.
Even something like this, yeah. But here, you know, I can maybe convince myself we can find a clever way to continue and maybe get a little bit of something. But who knows? None of this is forced.
No, but bishop d6 is the move you want to make, yeah.
You absolutely,
yeah. Like knight bd7, I don't like.
Yeah, then maybe you are actually slightly worse in a kind of a...
Bishop b7, you could lose. I mean, at least it's not the move you want to play. Sometimes you have to do this, but it's not ideal.
Yeah, in order for you to completely equalize here with black, the bishop has to stay on a6 and not allow e3, bishop d3, it feels like, right? So things very much depend on whether you can make something work tactically which solves the issue of bishop takes b8. You can go knight bd7, but then queen a4 is annoying, so... Yeah, that really does feel that bishop d6 is the absolute critical try.
Shirov, not afraid of calculating, will try to figure this out.
Despite his admonitions, it's a fair question. I think it's way too early to start preparing for the semifinals. There was a question whether Anish should already start like keeping one eye on who's doing well in the other group. The group he is playing the semi against, but I think it's way too early. Yes, he is a huge favorite to qualify, but it's just a distraction. I think you just need to finish the group first, and also after 2 rounds, there is no way really to tell who is qualifying from the other group anyway.
Also, I've never ever seen this actually. Well, if a chess player is playing a tournament for rating points, that they just think, you know what, I'll just wing the next 3-4 games and then prepare for the next stage. It just doesn't happen. He's going to prepare after the game.
Yeah,
he might be slightly happier to make draws if it gets him closer to qualification, things like that, but he's not going to prepare for the semis.
Yeah.
How's Mr. Mamedyarov doing?
Well, playing some kind of a very dry Rogozin, you know. This is about as sane a Rogozin as you can get these days, considering some of the lines we've seen where, you know, the king is often on f2 by move 10 with white or something, or there's some craziness going on, or the entire queen side disappears because you no longer feel like you need any pawns there.
This looks like very normal chess. I wasn't even aware it's still allowed to play like this against the Rogozin, but obviously castles is very far from the only move here, like h6 and dc4 is what you would face more often than not.
Yeah. This is the group with all 4 draws, right? and absolutely everything to play for. Yeah, Predke is has been doing very well so far. He's had a kind of a winning position against MVL, even though the actual quote-unquote forced win was very difficult to find. Also did fine yesterday. Seems to be having a very solid tournament so far, and I assume this is not very much. Like, I'm not a huge expert on these types of structures, but if you could refute Rogozin by just making common sense moves, people would be trying to make common sense moves against the Rogozin instead of all the madness you see more often.
Yeah, as I said, usually they don't castle here, allowing you the common sense, I would think.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this is arguably the most topical of the Grunfelds in the world today, the bishop c4, and Yuangi's reply to 10b6 is also, I think, by far the most topical one. So yeah, this is a very, very kind of a central line and a very central sort of conceptual conversation about the health of the entire line in general, because I think it used to be just automatically assumed some kind of a position like this is fine for black if you finish development and, I don't know, d4, d5 hasn't happened. Even the bishop on g7 hasn't been traded yet via the h6 square, and you have reasonably safe development with, let's say, I don't know, queen e6 or queen d7, queen e7 or queen d6 or something, and then you start trading along the c file. You play knight a5 and you start trading pieces, and then once again you can blame AlphaZero as much as you want. I don't know exactly how much influence it has here, but people just realized how incredibly annoying the plans of just pushing the h-pawn all the way to h6 in all of these positions are. And the variation kind of started shifting because very strong players started demonstrating just how difficult it is to defend those types of positions. And basically, maybe not this exact move order, but something very close to this is specifically the reason I, for instance, did not recommend b6 in my course. Because I felt that apart from the fact that after d takes c5 you have to make like 15 only moves in a row to make a draw by force and some of the sharp complications that arise here, there is also the option that white is now exercising in every second game seemingly, of just playing common sense moves like this and forcing you to defend eventually some kind of a very, very annoying endgame where it's one of those where, yes, you will make a draw, probably, but you will not equalize until draw is agreed, that kind of thing. You're just going to be perpetually worse with no real counterplay, and just having to defend until the game ends, one way or the other.
Yeah, Maxime will get what? Who called it the MVL knight? Was it Magnus? No, it's Magnus. No, a5. And it might be the French school of suffering.
Yeah.
He does have tremendous experience. Once again, Magnus's words, holding these types of positions, but we've also seen it go wrong every now and then. We haven't talked about Rapport versus FIDE. Rapport is saying, you know what, I played 7 queen c2 Nimzos in a row. It's time to mix it.
Yeah.
Want to move 3, want to move 4. Want to play e3. Castle, bishop d3, d5. Very mainstream, as you would expect from FIDE. There's often debates here if you want to start with d5 or with c5. Both have pros and cons. One of the cons of starting with d5 is it allows the cd, followed by ed, and now knight e2 or a3 as Rapport plays. But most players aren't very afraid of this from the black side. And just say, you know what, if you want to play a Carlsbad structure with the bishop on c1, knock yourself out. a6, yeah. I'm not sure if there's anything wrong with c6 here. a6 hinting at c5.
Yeah, he's just clearly aiming for a plan that involves c7, c5, so he does this move instead. c6 would have been a very natural response as well, but I guess, like with the bishop on g5, you get the Carlsbad, which you kind of like with white, but with the bishop back on c1, it should be fine. I suspect. But yeah, Fidget wants a more dynamic setup, I assume.
Yeah, rook e8, short castles. These positions, it's usually fun to check if bishop h2 works. Usually it doesn't, but still fun to check.
Yeah, I guess king g3, right? And
yeah.
you need to have slightly more of your queenside developed for this to work. This actually works. Like, surprisingly few pieces are actually required for this to work, but I think it's more than you have here. Yeah. Somehow.
Still, it was never like super trivial. I agree. I don't think it works. There was some game, maybe Nepomniachtchi with white in a very similar position. Nepomniachtchi Bareyev in this Levitov tournament. Where they played something like this. But yeah, it's always fun to look at. Let's try to figure out f4, queen h5. How does white?
Just bishop d2. I mean, the question is, do you actually have anything here or not? Because if I can get rook h1 and the game ends, so you basically have one more move to announce mate. Yeah, this looks like it's game over.
You can have your nice little double check, but the king will go.
Yeah, the king just goes. So yeah, this probably is it. To be fair. Not very spectacular, yeah. But yeah, bishop takes and queen g2. And once again, yeah, you have queen g2, queen g4. Sorry, queen g4, queen g2, but it's just a couple of checks and
we're running out of stuff.
Yeah, you just need like one more piece of stuff somewhere to join the attack, and then you might be okay. But it seems a bit short.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he played b6. Rapport continues, completely ignoring the idea of bishop h2 goes b4, knight bd7. You might start having to care a bit more if you play bishop b2 here. After bishop b2, you like
especially if you weaken e3, no?
Exactly. Yeah. Like specifically there. Yeah, this might suddenly be extremely strong. Even though with the knight on d7, king h3 becomes playable, or at least more playable than it was. But yeah, looks very.
You want to stay here?
Yeah, knight d5 or knight c5 or whatever. Yeah, looks very scary. Although bishop f5 exists, right? So yeah, move by move. Chess is an exciting game, haha. But you probably don't want to be tempting Vidit too much with this, because like if it turns out you overestimate just how easy it is to defend this position, you might just lose. So yeah, if we don't play bishop b2, we can play. I mean, normally you would want, like, the usual plan in these types of structures is to go for f3 and b4, and I'm guessing this is why Vidit chose a6 and b6, because it's just so much easier to push for the c5 counter play when you have the pawn on b6 already. So yeah, how do we proceed from here? What's the plan if our normal idea of trying to push in the center seems to be much harder to realize?
We have time to go like bishop d2, rook a1, and see what you're up to. I'm not sure how well it combines with b4, but terrible. So often you want to make all the useful moves without playing f3, because f3 is always met by c5.
Pretty much, yeah, instantaneously. But even with a pawn on f2, like if I play bishop b7 and then just play c5 anyway next move, like how bad is that? I don't know, rook somewhere, yeah. In particular, if it's not on d1, yeah, like some position like this.
Probably not winning, but
yeah, queen c7 or bishop c6. I guess queen c7. Yeah. Takes, knight takes. Yeah, let's ignore the fact that h2 is hanging. I wasn't really attacking h2, I was defending the bishop. Doesn't really look that horrible for black, does it?
Yeah, it's fair.
Seems okay-ish.
Yeah, then maybe white has to do something. While play some move like rook b1 first and ask you for yet another move.
Yeah, I think making c5 slightly harder to play for a bit at least is something that is very useful.
Start thinking about f3 again, at least if you don't support c5.
Yep.
Still concerned about bishop h2, but it usually doesn't work. Now with the bishop on b7, king h3, gains some strength. Yeah. Does it?
Yeah, this might now be more playable than it was earlier. Yeah,
maybe it's still there here. Just doesn't work for black. No.
Yeah, in particular with the rooks connected, I think it's extremely unlikely this will ever work. Yeah, once the bishop is on d2, the entire plan becomes a pipe dream. I got briefly distracted because I saw a mention in the Chess24 chat. Mejutim said that he's been to the playing hall yesterday, and Sasha just doesn't look like he's at all there. Like he's, I mean, we've seen it in the press conference. We mentioned it already on the show, but like on that topic, I wanted to check what was happening in Sasha's game, because I actually had this with the white pieces against him in the European clubs late last year. And I mixed up move orders here, and the game was immediately drawn. And for a second there, I thought maybe Sasha just wants to, kind of pack up and go. But I played after knight f6. I started with g4. For some reason, I wasn't trying to make a draw. I just misremembered my analysis. I started with g4, and that actually is an immediate draw after a6. Rook b7, queen c8, and then black just takes on g4 next move. First you go bishop g4. Yeah, first you go bishop g4 after rook b7, and then you go queen c8. And actually, white is kind of lucky to have rook b6 here. Otherwise, you might have to fight for a draw. But with the rook attacking the bishop on d6, black doesn't have anything better than the perpetual. But Sasha did not play g4. Sasha, even in this state, he is still making what are the best moves. And also, this kind of an anecdote is somewhat relevant in that he actually does know the theory of this line quite well. We discussed it after the game, and he told me things which I later also found in my own files, but supposedly after bishop g5, there was a very important game played by Alexander Morozevich some 20 years back, bishop g5. I think the idea currently is that you just play b7, b6 here after bishop g5. You just completely give up on the pawn on d5, like g4, bishop g6. Let's say, I don't know, in some order, bishop f6, queen f6, rook d5, rook a c8. And it turns out that black has enough compensation here. Despite there not really being any attack against the white king, the knight on f3 is very solid. And as long as the knight on f3 stays on f3, there is never going to be any particular attack against the king on g1, like no queen f4, queen h2 mate is forthcoming. It's just that white has to expend so much effort here, keeping the coordination the way it is, so that there is no attack, that it turns out it's impossible to make any kind of meaningful progress, and you don't get anywhere. So this is supposedly the way to equalize. But instead of all this, Etienne played a6. And now the question is, how easy is it? First of all, rook b7 still exists, but also with exactly what Sasha is doing. Yeah, bishop f6, queen f6, rook d5. With the pawns on a7 and b6, this position after bishop f3 and the trade of queens is, of course, very, very easily drawn if the black pawns are on the dark squares. But because they're on the light squares, rook b1 might be like, you make a move here of some description, and eventually, I mean, against rook d8, you do still have to spend a tempo defending against bishop h2 check threats. But you play something like c4 or bishop b4, and then you play rook b1. And the fact that black cannot establish this setup with a7 and b6 means that this is less of a draw, maybe even much less of a draw than the position I've described earlier.
Do I go b5 here?
Yeah, but how easy is the draw after that? So
I can take.
Yeah, it becomes very.
c5 might work.
Yeah, c5 might also work somehow. Even I think the issue is not bishop h2 check. Rather, it's just bishop c7, and can we keep the pawn on d4? Yeah, this just loses, I suppose, or comes close to losing anyway. But yeah, bishop c7 might still be playable. Rook d8, and it might be difficult to. Rook d1.
I can do same trick.
Yeah.
Sir.
Missed it completely, resigns. So yeah, this is sort of the point, that we've provoked a6, And it's enough of a drawback for black to not have it on a7, actually. Like, it's actively hampering black's chances of equalizing in these endgames. I suspect it's probably still okay with very, very precise defense, but it's less fun.
Yeah, Nityan is taking time. Doesn't look like he was very prepared for this turn of events, and I guess it's a bit of a sideline by...
Yeah, it's kind of disappeared. This is a very, very old way of replying to the bishop d6 Petrov.
Yeah.
It was kind of en vogue in the mid-90s, I think, pretty much. Going into and maybe including the early 2000s. And then more or less entirely disappeared. I think, actually, as I understand from my conversation with Sasha specifically during the European club, specifically because of that Smirin Marozevich game, which I referred to earlier.
Right, so Grishuk doing well here, but Crow will have to fight for a draw. Doesn't look like he has any alternatives to this either, no? Bishop g6.
Yeah, without the pawn on g4, you can go bishop g6, but you kind of know you're going to be much worse / lost. That's just not a very reasonable option at all.
Take.
In our assigned central game of the round, Sam is once again showing just how well prepared he is everywhere, because instead of that queen a6 move that, for instance, Adiban made against Prague, Sam goes queen a5, and we're now at move 19, and he is at 133.56. So clearly, some work has been done on establishing exactly what to do against this sacrifice.
Sam knew,
yeah.
So what is going on? Probably nothing much is going on here. White just has long-term compensation, but...
It's very, very difficult to imagine White ever losing any of these positions. You always have some kind of a bailout for a draw, and just generally, even if like all of your initiative runs out, the structure is dry enough that you just kind of don't lose, even if the absolute worst case scenario. But doesn't look very threatening. I can't really find any immediate follow-up, and also Sam is still accruing time. So yeah, I assume black is completely fine.
Is rook fp8 a threat? Do I have to spend time on this? I really want to, but let's say h3 or f3 or not. Rook here.
Yeah, I think trading any heavy pieces here.
And yeah, he went bishop e5.
Yeah, bishop e5. I'm guessing we go. Where do we go? Where do
I'd be tempted to go here.
But queen c2, right? You
probably don't trade queens.
Yeah, queen c2, you have to, like, queen a3 is legitimately the only square available, and it starts looking very thin. d7 maybe. Just to leave yourself the e6 square for the bishop, and you can use a7 if you have to continue running.
Sam out of book? Maybe he's just taking a leisurely stroll.
Yeah, he's just not at the board. Sam is never out of book.
Book is out of Sam.
Yes. In democratic California, books run out of Sam.
IQJ saying Sam must go queen d7, but white is much better. What brings you to that conclusion? IQJs. I guess you choose white, but much better, it sounds like. Stretch, no? Also, yeah, Sam has been blitzing out the moves till here.
Yeah,
if he knows this is equal.
If not for the clock situation, I could believe white could be better here. Much better, I don't know, but like somewhat better. But yeah, Sam clearly is still showing homework, and unlikely he is going for something that is entirely unsound.
Specifies that we should ignore the engine being equal. Fair enough.
ignore the engine, yeah. And the old conversation about why Alexander is called Sasha reappeared in the Twitch chat, and I will actually address this because I had to do research. I didn't like. It's just so much universally accepted around here that you never ask yourself why, and the reasoning was very, very bizarre even to my Russian mind, because apparently it goes Alexander shortened sort of to Alexasha as a like pet diminutive name for a person, and from Alexasha
probably are aware that's not really shorter, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is why I said shortening. So it goes Alexander to Alexasha, and from Alexasha you just lop off the entire first 80% of the name, and you get the Sasha. I was honestly either never aware of this, or I was told once and forgot.
Yeah. Over here, we only know about this through Russian chess players. Here, every Alexander is called Alex.
Yeah, or Lex, as it turns out.
Alexis?
I think like there's only one Lex in my world, apart from Lex Luthor, which is, he's
Lex, yeah.
not a real person.
So. I thought Alexis is what you call your kids when you can't afford the car.
Yeah. So apparently the Lex we all know on Twitch is also Alexander, and that I also wouldn't have guessed if I didn't know.
Lex Luthor. What's his real name? Alexander Joseph Lex Luthor. There you go. All right. I stand corrected. Lex. Also, you should explain on the Sasha topic. All Alexandras are also Sashas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that also because Alexandra was shortened to Alexasha, and then you lost
pretty much? Yeah, I think there the origin story is exactly the same.
There must be quite a few couples out there that are Sasha and Sasha, no?
Must be, yeah. Even though it's not as popular a girl's name, but they absolutely very, very much. There's plenty of girl Sashas around here.
I only know chess players. So there's 2 of the top 4. I was assuming that's representative for.
Yeah. I don't know what the current trends are, but at some point there was a kind of a joke going around that 2 people meet and they haven't seen each other for a while, and so one asks the other, "So how's life?" And the other says, "It's wonderful. Me and my wife, we just had our first child." And the first one says, "Is it a boy or a Nastya?" Because seemingly every single girl child in the country was called Nastya at one point.
No, Sophia overtook Anastasia as the most popular name. Which game shall we go to?
I don't know.
All right.
No.
Then Fedosey of Shirov it is.
Yeah, let's go there. Yeah. So Sheriff declined to, somewhat surprisingly to me, because I thought he would have welcomed a chance to calculate some.
Let me check what Compy has to say about Bishop d6. Yeah, Compy is with us.
It's fine, right?
Bishop d6.
Even though it kind of started moving.
5.
3 equal. But 97 maybe slightly better for white.
More hilarity.
Yeah. This apparently might not have
just a computer.
Yeah.
He probably calculated this for quite a while and decided against it. No, that's what we're going with. But what he did, it's a concession.
Yeah, it very much is a concession, and yeah, Queen C8. I very much understand Queen C8 because, as we mentioned, Bishop on A6 is very much very important for Black, because allowing E3, Bishop D3, you do end up in a very annoying exchange Slav, the one you really don't want to get. So he is pushing for something adventurous now with B6, B5, but yeah, engines disagree. Let's see if Vlad finds the right response.
Engines say this is the move. Knight takes b5, bishop b5, queen b5, rook b8. They're not that concerned.
Yeah, not earth-shattering. Even though it continues kind of weirdly, and yeah, the line seems to be odd. Yeah, takes. We're not actually taking on b2 in this position for whichever reason, because apparently we are slightly worse after f3, so we go rook b6, and then some mayhem ensues, because apparently you can take on a7, which I wouldn't have guessed. And the knight doesn't get lost, and play becomes very randomized. Yeah. All of this is, I think, this Alexei would welcome with open arms, but yeah, you're just...
What's happening?
I think that h b5 is just a move you don't, like, unless you think it just straight up wins, and it doesn't look like it straight up, so straight up wins, you just ignore it and you go queen somewhere. And on the topic of queen somewhere does look like a5.
Yeah.
Because you need to have a good reply to b5 before, which is pretty much coming next move. And yeah, having the option of playing knight b5 seems very useful. So seems like queen a5 already played. Yeah, you just kind of get there by common sense, even without doing too much calculating.
Shirov in some trouble. It's knight b7. I don't know. Would require more checking. If bishop f4, bishop d6, how it ends was a mess. But the way things went, also b5, computer is not in love with. Wants some more quiet approach. Now he has to suffer. Wasn't technically an exchange Slav. It started as some semi-Slav.
Well, I think he wanted the Botvinnik, right? Well, Alexei is very much, he went back to all the old favorites, and he is very seriously playing the Botvinnik again.
What do you mean back? He never left. Yeah,
he pretty much never left. He is one of the few people who never really left and continued playing the Botvinnik through thick and thin. And also some very sharp Merans, if those happen. But yeah, queen d3, a rare move here.
Yeah, not that rare. The main lines, at least, in my days, were takes and b5. But Shirov plays b6, which I'm sure is also a legit option. Then after cd, bishop a6. Yeah, actually all this stuff is given by computer, so maybe it's not as random as we expected from FIDE. Where to next? Action in this game, not that much after gf rook ft8.
Yeah, he's gone with
king g2.
Yeah, with the slightly more restrained approach. But yeah, I think even this is not that easy to equalize, specifically because you might, because of back rank issues, you might have to, if you're not careful, the rook will land on b7 and you'll have issues with the f7 pawn. So, or alternatively, like if the d4 pawn gets traded for the a6 pawn, which you can easily imagine, like you play bishop f8 here, and there's immediately an option of taking on d8 and taking on a6 and continuing from here, like I go rook c1 here, put the bishop on b3. Or that, yeah, that might be stronger. Once again, probably a draw with very precise defense, but you are not going to be enjoying it very much with black, clearly.
No, maybe it's also what the doctor ordered for Grishuk position. Yeah, you can push without having to think or having any risk whatsoever. Most people do not mind these situations.
Yeah.
Anish, starting to think? What's going on, Anish? E6, fe, and after queen e2, he's thinking.
Yeah, queen e2 is
But he's also apparently better already, so not a horrible outcome of the opening.
Not much better, is he?
Oh, no, the engine bar says equal, but I see a little more black.
Mm.
What's
Yeah,
the
it
threat?
doesn't look like this should threaten him unduly.
You're here? Because queen e2 is threatening rook a6, right? It's sidestepping.
Probably, yeah, probably has to be the point, yeah. Even if that happens, you're not really losing all that hard. Let's say if you play bishop d6 and after rook a6 you start trading everything, it's not horrible, but why not just keep the pawn? I guess rook b1, rook b5 is the potentially scary thing, but it's probably not that scary. Rook b1, we can include knight d4 at any point. I don't know if the time has come yet. I would probably wait a move, right? Queen b5, queen d5, rook b5, and yeah, maybe even here we can continue waiting. Just play.
Also, what's your threat? Still, no?
Yeah, it looks like we've achieved something, like queen e4, rook h5, some kind of a dream of an attack on the king side. But obviously, black will have something to say about it. Eventually, the pieces will start coming off, and there's not going to be any of the giving of the mate on the king side here, I feel.
So it seemed like today, for a change, Anish was reasonably well prepared, not winging it as he usually does.
Not really winging it now.
Sam played queen d7, but it took him like 4 minutes.
Yeah, he is suddenly below the starting time. Sound the alarm.
What else do we have? We have h4 here, no surprises there, as you explained earlier. a6, and yeah. Where does the bishop go here?
a4, I think. Or sometimes weirdly, bishop c4, knight a5, bishop d3 is not stupid. And in general, provoking b5 is quite good for white, because then knight a5 becomes much harder to play. After, let's say, bishop b3, yeah, you no longer really have your absolute main weapon in terms of offloading material, because all the other squares will be much less useful. Queen b4 is something they try in these positions, but you have to be very careful in managing how you reply to d4, d5. Maybe even immediately, but yeah. Sometimes it just leads to instant simplifications and a draw, and sometimes it leads to positions that are really, really bad for black. So calculation will be required. They also sometimes just play bishop takes c6, somewhat surprisingly. It's
yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, just take an f3 and claim that the h-pawn is annoying. Also, with the bishop gone, playing bishop h6 and trading the bishop on e3 for the bishop on g7 and leaving yourself with a knight on e2, which has some nice squares to look forward to. Let's say f4, and then maybe push for d5 or push for something on the king side. They're just like, you never feel like you're much worse, but you also never feel like you've entirely equalized in this line. It's always been bugging me.
Doesn't look like it bugged Maxime that much, because he's stuck with his b6 through thick and thin. Once he finds a line he likes, he will be loyal.
Yep.
Should have played b4.
Yeah, Fedoseev somewhat surprisingly hasn't played knight b5 yet, which is clearly the most obvious move. But I guess that there is some argument to be made for knight a4. Just trying to, I don't know, play rook c1 and then eventually put it on c5, which is obviously a very nice square if everything goes absolutely according to plan. But black probably will do something in the meantime.
And Yu Yang does indeed take on c6, although Chet also said after bishop a4, b5 bad, had to go knight a5 either way.
Yeah, seems very possible.
There's a question: how do you best provoke a move? Do you have any experience? Like, do you go bishop a4 and you say, "Please don't play b5"? You like mutter it under your breath. Don't b5. Don't b5.
Well, the old recipe was to make a move and then kind of press the clock and immediately make some kind of a jerking motion and like, what have I done? And then run away from the board. As you maybe, if you are, a little bit of a startled deer in real life, maybe that would be your reaction to blundering something.
But nowadays, with like certain players, you get that after every move they made, so it maybe lost its effect. No?
Yeah, I don't think it works very well, but that at least was like the old prescribed way of pretending there's something you're very afraid of in the position.
But for example, even with you, I don't mean the jerky motion, but after you make a move, you will run away from the board in 99% of the cases.
And honestly, to my shame, I may have done the entire thing once or twice in my career. It's just very difficult to stop yourself. It just never works. But you still feel like you're not. If you're not doing it, you're not really putting the entire effort in your decision making. Like it's
another important question. I think I know the answer, you being a good person, all that. If your opponent forgets to press the clock, has this ever happened to you? And have you informed them that they forgot to press the clock?
Actually, it never happened to me. And I think, I'm sure you're kind of baiting me here, but I once gave, like, the interview wasn't about that, but it's still very much on the record, just how much of an idiot I was when I was 19. I think after I won my second Russian national title, I gave a winner's interview for the 64 Chess magazine, and there was exactly this incident in the tournament where Yakovich, who is now a very respected coach, but in that time was still very much an active practitioner of the game, he was playing a game of his life against Alexei Dreyev, and he was completely winning with black, but in very, very sharp time trouble, which he pretty much always used to have in his games. Yuri was very much in the sort of a Grishuk mold of a player in terms of time management. And he forgot to press the clock, and Dreyev calmly waited until the time ran out and claimed the win. And I think I even brought it up myself. I think I was, enough of an idiot to even go on a rant completely uninvited. And I said that, I would very much hope, blah, blah, that, being put in this position, I would never do such a thing, blah, blah.
You were never put in the position?
I was never in that position. And
so just to clarify, the story where you claim you were an idiot at age 19 continues with you mentioning that was after you won your second Russian national title, and then you're making a passionate plea for sportsmanship.
That's a passionate plea for being an idiot, I think, in all honesty.
So you no longer support sportsmanship?
Not to the extent that I supported it at 19, because I think, like, if we're talking about tournament play, we're supposedly all grown-ups here. And your clock is really your responsibility. And yes, sportsmanship has its place. And yes, I suspect in a game where not very much is at stake, I would still very much say your clock is still running. But sort of, bemoaning the lack of sportsmanship there is just absolutely idiotic. You are also absolutely within your rights not to say anything. You haven't done anything wrong. The rules of chess are known to both players in the game. Why haven't the guy pressed the clock?
Yeah, I've been in that position once or twice, and probably to nobody's surprise, I was very quietly continuing my walk, like watching from afar if that clock would actually eventually get pressed. Like, I wasn't at the board, but I've seen it. Because one way, I'm not sure if you do this to keep track of if it's your move or not, is sometimes watching the clock from afar. And if that clock, which hasn't been pressed, doesn't match the board position, then something's off.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind either way, but I like the the kind of a very high horsey rant I went on in '95, I very much do not endorse anymore. I think that's just me being young and stupid and way too idealistic.
Pawn to e5 played here by Yu Yang Yi.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was what he meant, because it's much more concrete than playing f3 and giving black time, for instance, to play bishop a4 and start trading. And here, the idea is very simply to play h5 if you have time, bishop h6 in general, and then try to get the knight to some good squares, such as specifically f6. It's going to be difficult to get it there because, you know, e4 is firmly controlled by the bishop on c6, but you do develop a very strong attack on the king side quite often here with white.
Such an odd move to wrap your head around. Like, by now I've seen this plenty, but when you're starting out, you always think like, I gotta keep the center and control the d5 square. But here, it doesn't make that much of a difference, right, where this bishop goes. So with knights off the board, it's not that big a positional concession.
It looks very strange when you take sort of the first glance, and then you realize the bishop will be restricted by the pawn on f3. Black not having the knight here is, as you mentioned, very critical, because both d5 and also something that maybe gets overlooked when you think about it for the first time, the f5 square is extremely useful for black to have access to if the knight is still on the board. If there was a knight, let's say, on, as you're pointing out, let's say if you do the same thing with the knight on 6 still alive, it more or less immediately goes to e7. Bishop, e5, queen somewhere, bishop e3, it goes to e7, and then very often it will not even go to d5 at all. It will go to f5 because it does a much better job on f5 of protecting your king side, which is where trouble will come if it comes anywhere at all. Your center is now secure. You don't really have to blockade the d5 square with the knight. So trading the knight away first is very useful. I still feel like it shouldn't be that bad because the c file is already open and you can probably start trading efficiently, but yeah, it's a serious attempt. It's a much more of a serious attempt than it might look at first glance. So what's happening here? This is the Rupert Vidit game, and after bishop b7, as we've expected, Richie played rook b1. I think it's very logical not to allow c7, c5, at least without some preparation. So, you know, make your opponent work for it. Vidit played knight f8. There was also knight f4 included somewhere earlier, and
knight f4 is sort of noteworthy. No, that's not always part of the standard setup. But yeah, I do recall maybe a Wesley game where black took here and suffered greatly, or maybe it was Wesley. I can't recall. So understandable that Vidit prefers not to take this, because then it's very hard to get a grip on any central squares in the structure.
Yeah, you generally, like, if you play knight g6 and the knight continues just staying there, you probably do take with the knight.
Yeah.
But it was taking. Whoa, Anish. Sorry, that required a.
Oh, queen sacrifice.
Yeah. And
a5 he played, as we expected, c4, and queen f3. Fancy.
Very fancy.
gf, he wants to take, and take. But is it better after all this?
Probably still a draw, right? Like knight f3, king h1, knight e1, or king g2 doesn't. Yeah, I wanted to include queen takes e6 check, which is why I chose the other square. But I guess the pawn falls anyway. I don't think it's important. Yeah, queen e6. I think they go rook f7. Maybe black is, like, if anyone is better, it probably is black, because the a pawn might be quite annoying. But generally speaking, and time for you to try to bait me into the queen as a queen story, but it's not
happening.
Not today. What do we say to the queen is a queen story? Not today.
Not familiar with your Lord of the Rings references.
Yeah. Harry hasn't actually taken on f3 yet, and I do want to point out that queen takes e6 exists, but isn't really an improvement. Black is still completely fine. I'm wondering if maybe Harry is worried he might be worse after GF, and then this is maybe a decent bailout. Because
do we keep the queen here?
Yeah, I think we have to, because otherwise e7. I mean, we don't really want to give up the bishop on. I'll have rook f7.
Rook f7 if we insist on
GF
using
queen d5 though, yeah. No, queen d5. GF knight d4, queen d5. We might not be able to take on e1.
That'd be a problem.
Yeah, that would be a bit of an issue. So, yeah, that's a problem. So I guess we go queen f7. We take on c6. Black goes, I'm guessing, queen bishop b4 here. Black is completely fine, but white probably doesn't risk very much either. Who knows?
Yeah, Harry taking moment.
Yeah. In the meantime, Alexei is not really very happy with passive defense, so after knight b5 he took and played queen c2, which is an extremely committal move. Like, I'd be so scared I allow rook c1 and then I just lose by force somehow. So scared.
Let's take.
Yeah, I don't see how we lose, but like g4 or something.
All these positions where computer usually says e4 or g4.
Or g4, yeah.
But over the board is always very tricky.
Yeah, exactly. But we've seen enough of these positions just being straight up lost after a very precise move to not really want to engage with them very much. But Sheriff clearly believes in the power of his calculation, because yeah, it's very, very scary. Queen b7, rook d8 is straight up the only move. And after knight c6, I guess you have bishop d6. I guess this is why you don't resign straight up, but...
Sorry, after what?
Knight c6, I thought, yeah, knight c6, I mean, would kind of win the game, if not for the fact that bishop d6 exists. Because the rook is caught and will get picked up. But bishop d6 does give black enough tempi here to probably immediately be completely fine, or maybe even more than completely fine. Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. What's the
thinking? He could play a different move here as well, no? Like,
yeah, exactly. I was wondering if there's a kind of a good bailout. 93 is a very decent bailout, yeah. Queen c4, I guess, is the plan, because rook c1 is a bit of a threat.
Yeah.
So queen c4, but now we go...
I'd like to go queen b7.
b7, queen c8, I guess, yeah, because otherwise, once again, like if we don't play queen c8 here, I have a feeling we're in a dawn of trouble.
Here we're better, no? Like,
yeah, we're always going to be a bit better with white, at least.
This, I'd be quite happy. Or I don't know if we need f3, but in general, white as bishops, the knight on d3. This looks great.
Yeah, we just need to make sure we don't blunder some kind of knight h5, which trades away the bishop on f4.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we're Gucci, yeah.
We try f3, g4.
Yeah, I just wanted to put what you were absolutely correctly doing into words.
I mean, c6 is a worse version of stuff like that.
I think so,
c6 looks silly.
I think if we have to choose, we go knight d3. There are also some gambits here, like you can go knight d3, queen c4, queen a4, queen takes d4, e3, queen b6, rook c1, and claim that we have a lot of activity, which is not even entirely untrue, like rook c6 here, and queen somewhere, rook c7, and continue kind of creating. I might be doing very well, right? Queen b6 rook takes d7 wins material. 97, 95, and suddenly things have started collapsing with bishop b5 coming in. It's a tricky position for black. Like you probably shouldn't underestimate just how collapsible all of this is with the king side still completely undeveloped. We kind of, I saw queen takes f3 and we stopped talking about this position. So what do we think about knight? I kind of like knight g6. If you have to choose between knight g6 and knight e6 here, which one do you prefer? Because it feels like one of those two moves is being made.
Don't know. I guess it comes down to either how we meet capturing and e4. No.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping. Actually, it's more annoying than I thought. Yeah, I think in terms of meeting this, I would probably rather have the rook on e8, right, where it doesn't really get in the way as much. But even then, rook b1 is such an annoying little detail which kind of prevents us from playing c5.
Yeah, I guess standard counter never works, at least. I don't know, there might be something good here. Sometimes it's just whatever, bishop f8, and it's awkward, but...
Or you could try going for something, very exciting, like knight g4, as you were pointing out, and then some sacrifices, but they don't seem to be... Like, we don't have enough coordination to make that work, or at least...
Bishop f8 works, no? Like, if we have to go d5, we're unhappy, and I don't see how to keep everything. Queen f2.
Bishop e3, knight g4, bishop c4, but I have a feeling it's not enough, right? Knight e3, bishop f7, king h8, rook f3. But I have a feeling this is not working, so like knight g4 here or something, and, as they used to say in my Pioneer's Palace, we shall reply to the intricate blunder with a brute recapture.
I said the same thing in my Pioneer's Palace.
Yes. But it seems like
currently knight g6 is what we want. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That I think if you continue waiting and you continue provoking e4, eventually it will become quite strong. So, yeah, I would like to start challenging the white setup in the center. Knight ce2 exists here as a move, but I don't. It's very meh, because once you move the knight away from c3, how are we ever going to push c3, e3, e4?
We are not. And this with ef, the white pieces are just a bit too silly. Although this could be one of these rapport. I understand pawn structure is better than you do thing.
Yeah, and then some sort of f5, bishop f4, and just play against the backward pawn on c7.
Some squares,
yeah. Would be quite interesting to watch if that happened.
Also, black is not obliged to take anything here if he doesn't like it. I'm not sure how you continue. Tempted to make some ugly move like rook b8 just to get this into play, but it feels a bit artificial. Queen e7
feels slow
move to make.
Feels slow. Queen e7 is normal, yeah. In the meantime, knight g6 played, so we are about to find out what Richie thinks about this whole conundrum. And the Grishuk-Bakro game is probably just going to be a draw, because Sasha did end up with this outside extra pawn on the a file, but with the kingside structure being broken up, sometimes black loses these types of positions when the white pawns on the king side. Yeah, just agreed, John.
Also, if you ever need an indicator that Grishuk is not in the mood to play chess, just look at his clock. He has 1 hour 20 on move 32. That's not 12 seconds or 1 minute 20, 1 hour 20.
Yeah. So, yeah, he is just clearly not really there. And Sam, I think, will make a comfortable draw today now with the moves we have on the board. Feels like it's unlikely he will be in any trouble. So we have one draw already, and I think we will probably have another one in the Andreikin-Shanklin game quite soon, because that feels like pieces are about to start flying off the board. Yeah, queen d7, we go rook c1. Sadly for us, we'll have to take on d7 with the bishop so as not to... Oh, we can even do it immediately. Yeah, why am I playing rook c1? I guess because I don't want to blunder bishop c7. So yeah. Here, if you take with the bishop c7 might be a bit annoying, so understandable that he hasn't done that. Rook c1, bishop takes. And black wants to play rook c8 or f6, king f7, bishop e6, or really any logical follow-up. And sometimes these positions are not exactly as equal as they look, but this one I think is very, very equal.
Sam.
Yeah, meaning that if we assume this is a draw, and I think it's a very safe assumption, this is the end of the first of the double round robin in this group, and Sam and Andreikin are on +1. Bakro is on 50%, and Sasha is still on -2, having lost his first 2 games.
We should maybe once again repeat for people who haven't followed from the beginning that this is the qualification round. It's 4 groups that play each other in a so-called double round robin. That means everybody plays everybody else twice. And then after these 6 games, the 4 leaders of the 4 groups move on to play semifinals and then finals, which are conducted in a knockout mode. We're still very much in the group stage. In case players are tied after the group stage, they will play a tiebreak, right?
Yeah, there's a tiebreak, and it's a very fast kind of a tiebreak. I think they play 1 pair of 15+10s, and then immediately a 3+2. It's on the screen, but it's too small. The font is too small for me to read. But I have a feeling that, you know, I've looked it up when Berlin was going on, and I think it's basically two pairs of reasonably rapid, and then immediately blitz, and then Armageddon.
We haven't seen the Vityugov game for a while.
Yeah.
But it is very much the type of game you would expect from the structure. One thing I'm surprised about is that, according to the engine bar I see on my screen, it says black is better. How could black be better?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can very clearly see how black is not worse, because white really hasn't achieved anything at all. And the fact that a5, a4 was played on the queen side and there's a rook on b6 means that it's unlikely white will be exercising any of those minority attacks on the queen side. But I still don't understand how black can be better. Like knight e6, g5, e4 or something, I don't know. You do want to push h5, h4 at some point, it feels like, and then not commit to either h3 or hd3 forever, just keeping white in that state of heightened tension. But there's one quote-unquote weakness on b3, and you can't get to it. So yeah, it's confusing to me just how much better you can even be in these types of positions. So yeah, I was not incorrect about the tie breaks. 15+10 followed by 3+2 micro match of 2 games, and then immediately an Armageddon. So in as much as FIDE tie breaks go, this is a very, very abbreviated schedule. No 10-game games, no repeated blitz games, just trying to get you as efficiently as possible to the Armageddon stage and then enjoy pieces flying everywhere. What else are we missing? We haven't spoken about the Mamedjarov Predki game in quite some time. There's been...
Yeah, the position looked a bit dry, even though it's not exactly dull. No, it's... feels like it's, if it's that's on the I can't speak. Feels like it's on the verge of white putting pressure or black equalizing.
Yeah, originally I thought there must be a way to very efficiently just double on the C file, take on C5 without losing anything and just be completely fine. But white does double on the B file very quickly here. And then it's awkward to try to play bishop d7, and if you take on c5, you are leaving the pawn on b7 hanging. Maybe
a6?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you actually have to kind of close your eyes and make a very ugly move here.
The rook goes somewhere, then we take and
with the queen probably, yeah, queen and then take on c3. Is rook a5 completely unplayable?
Yeah, that's my question. Rook a5 and queen c7, queen b4. Because it's critical, it's just a question. It's good. No? Seems good.
I don't know, rook c7? Just don't engage with the rook on a5 at all. Just go after the c5 pawn with all your heart. Rook c8 and then just take on c5 twice. Because
here if we play some move.
Yeah, but there's always queen b1 check in the end. This is I also thought this wasn't as clear, but yeah, I can take on c5 and take with the rook. And if you take on b7, I will win the a2 pawn back in the end. With, I assume, very comfortable equality straight up, right? This is just
we're not. White might be worse here, but that's
a kind of irrelevant.
Bit of a freak inside. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you can just go a6, provoke rook a5, and then
can I improve on that? No, some bishop f1.
Maybe some kind of a real. But then I can maybe switch back to the original plan of going rook takes, queen takes. Because of back rank issues, probably stop you from effectively playing bishop takes a6.
Just to draw.
Yeah. So yeah, not surprising. Or let's say I'm not sure how clean this calculation is, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if black was holding here. But you do need to be precise, because in all of these lines, if you include h3, like if you give white a tempo to play h3 and you haven't really achieved anything on the queen side, it feels to me that you might actually start experiencing some problems. It's all very sort of concrete and touch and go here.
Wow, Jake Loans gave Professor Bambetti a sub. Who's more general? General and generous than Jake Loans.
Yeah, there needs to be a proper appreciation. The Grunfeld has, MVL clearly disliked the sort of the general direction the game was potentially heading if he did nothing on the king side to play f7, f6, which is not such a comfortable move to make in almost any structure, but trying to immediately revive the bishop on g7 is very understandable, while white doesn't have a particularly comfortable way of preserving the structure. Knight f4, we go queen d7, but that doesn't look horrible. It's a move. We can go knight d3 here, but that looks very kind of passive and non-threatening.
No threatening? Bishop b5.
Yeah, bishop b5 or bishop a4, or honestly, even d and then go into the endgame and hold that endgame reasonably comfortably. But I think moving the bishop away first, it just improves those options quite a bit. So what do we do after f6? If we take EF, what does black recapture with? Like, it looks like bishop is logical, but also rook takes creates some kind of romantic ideas of maybe rook takes f3 somewhere, but they probably don't work. So we take with the bishop and go
Do you
queen.
have time to chase down this bishop here? Not sure. It's better, but
yeah,
I'm a bit worried about rook f3 and being checkmated, but probably not.
Yeah, I guess bishop g7 first. And if you play bishop h6, at the very least, I can consider maybe taking on h6 and a2 if I don't get mated there, just to have something to show for it.
Yeah, don't know. At least it looked vaguely dangerous.
Yeah, my plan here was actually kind of a swindle immediately, but I don't. Yeah, it probably doesn't work. I wanted to go bishop takes f3, but I guess rook c8 might be winning. Because gf I take on c1 and go queen d2, and that I think was working out. That was my... Even here after rook c7, I might not have a perpetual, as I now realize. So yeah, not sure how good any of this is. Probably best abandon this train of thought.
Can we take on f3 though, just for funsies?
And there's rook c6. I was also very attracted to this.
Directly.
Directly or after gf.
Or gf, queen f3, rook c6. Right.
So we're only really fighting for a perpetual there.
Yeah.
Which I became kind of disillusioned once I realized that.
And that looks logical. No, I need to.
Yeah, it does look logical. You could
Maybe
also
even bishop h6 directly. I'm not sure how this plays out, but
just do this, and if fe5, we can go bishop g7, king g7, and
move of some description.
Queen e3, queen b2. Yeah, choose a square. Some square.
I can't decide.
Yeah, decision paralysis is a thing. Very much is a thing. Yeah, plenty of options for you, Angi. Luckily for him, he has been playing very quickly up until that moment, so he can spend pretty much as much time as he wants here, trying to figure out what he prefers.
Now Diarov has played rook a5 or a6, and rook a5 have been played. Probably Pretke will do what we talked about. And it looked like it was equalized. Where's Pretke from? What do you know about Pretke?
Not very much, honestly. I've obviously I have either not played him at all, or possibly I played him in the Blitz tournament, which followed the Riga Grand Swiss, and that was maybe the first time. Sort of very, very nice, studious young man. A lot of my colleagues are on good terms with him, but I personally, have not very much to add to this conversation. I sort of like him from a distance, but as you well know, this doesn't really describe a unique subset of people.
So he's not on your long list of enemies that you like to trash in public?
Yeah, he is still to work his way into that.
Rapport has said, you know what, all of this knight takes g6 or ef4 stuff, not on board with, so I'll go back. But then, of course, the question has to be allowed if knight f4 on move 12 achieved a great deal. Maybe it doesn't matter. Now with the bishop on b7, he's saying c5 is stopped and the tempi lost aren't so important.
Yeah, but the question still remains, what is white pushing for? Because if you're trying to push for a 3-4, you have suffered a setback. Although knight g3, maybe queen e7 in particular, very much invites knight g3.
Knight h4. Now e4 once again.
Knight h4.
I just tried to stop this.
No, it might be a very decent move, honestly. But then you will have to calculate, because it does allow e4, and the position suddenly becomes extremely concrete. Because if you can't really find a way to deal with the e4, e5 threats, either here or after the trade, you are in a heap of trouble.
There's a question, who's already qualified? For the candidates, we have a graphic, but at this point, we should probably also know it's Jan Nepomniachtchi and Timur Rajabov, Sergei Kayakin, Jan Krzysztof Duda, Fabiano Caruana, there's a graphic, and Alireza Firouzja. So there's 2 spots still to be given away, unless some other changes will happen. But yeah, these 2 spots, they will be played out in the Grand Prix series that we're currently covering. This is the second of 3 events. And after these 3 events, a complicated system of giving points for this Grand Prix tour will determine the last 2 players.
Is it as complicated as the point system for the House Cup?
I don't know what the House Cup is.
Well, it's the Quidditch competition.
And you just catch the snatch and you win, no?
Yeah, but then also, you get points if you like defeat the animated chess pieces, apparently, and you get additional points from like random sources, which you never entirely know if the things you're doing are going to give you points or no. So I'm wondering if
it's not as complicated.
Probably somewhat less complicated, but did sound complicated. Found the Potter Nerd Lul. It is famously the only book we have all read. And by we, I mean the nerds. It's the only book apparently we are ever making comparisons to these days. Or at least that's what the meme says. Yeah.
That G3 plate.
It has nothing to do with Quidditch. It's an end of a year reward. Exactly, my dumb username. Yeah, I thought that was not entirely right. Even though I said it myself, I'm no. Okay. Abandon ship. 93 played. Do we just ignore it? Do we just go, I don't know, Queen D7, Knight F5, Bishop F8, and say nothing of value was lost?
Feels like white is making some progress now. I'm not sure how bad it is now. You want C5. If I just go here.
Yeah, it feels awkward, right? Because now the knight on G6 is stupid, and eventually, as you're pointing out with arrows there, eventually I feel white might feel safe enough everywhere to just start pushing the pawns up the board. But yeah, I'm not sure. In particular, like you play Queen E7, and then you think after Knight G3, and it's maybe Queen E7 wasn't the best. Maybe you could have done something that was more on point.
How bad is takes here?
Not pretty bad, but yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. It feels like you're.
Also, we can't play H5. Yeah, I mean, if we could maybe fix this pawn.
Not immediately.
G6 is hanging. So.
And yeah, if we don't play it immediately, G3, G4 is probably happening.
Yeah.
And, all your end games are kind of bad, and you also kind of get made in the middle games. So yeah, it feels like Vidit might be in a bit of a pickle at least. Not really loving any of his options. I think of the 2 things we discussed, I prefer just ignoring it, allowing knight f5, and then maybe just playing knight e7 and asking for it, like for a trade. But playing queen e7 and then queen d7 is just such an annoying thing to have to do. The
bishop c8, maybe you can argue for.
Really does invite e3, e4 so much. Like it's. You probably will have to start sacrificing pieces. It might work. Like bishop c8, we go e4, FED, we go knight g4, e5, and then we take on e5 with something, or we throw in queen h4 somewhere. Might actually be working out, but bishop c8 or that, yeah. But that like queen f2. If this fails to work out immediately, you might.
Yeah, then I'll resign. Yeah. I want knight g4, frankly, but queen f7, queen e8 is a bit of an issue.
I'm actually maybe not threatening c5 hard enough, so maybe you can play, sorry, e5. But yeah, we're getting carried away there. Knight g4 might be semi-playable because queen h4 is a big threat. e5, queen
We
h4.
want here queen h4 or knight g?
Queen h4, I think, yeah. Originally, I wanted to start giving up pieces on the e5 square, but I think queen h4 is just more efficient because it forces g3, h3, and then you can take on g3 and then reconsider.
Yeah.
Looks like black is actually doing quite well.
It's not going to work out for white, is it?
No. But e4 is obviously not forced. I was kind of wondering if it wins on the spot, but bishop c8 is an unpleasant move to consider.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Also with b6 on the board, even knight f5 strategically
exactly.
could be pleasant for white. No.
Mm-hmm.
Although, how bad this is, c5. Maybe not terrible. Doesn't look terrible.
Doesn't look, yeah, specifically takes and c5 actually looks, you're right, doesn't look bad at all. Still, it's just, it's not this position, it's specifically the idea of having to make the move bishop b7, c8 that annoys me greatly. But if it works out, it works out. It also makes it easier to play c5 because there is nothing on the b file that the rook on b1 can be targeting, so maybe you can convince yourself from this side, sort of. I'm not just playing bishop c8 because I kind of blundered into this threat of knight g3 and knight f5. I'm also just moving it away from a dead diagonal to make my counterplay with c5 easier. It's a lie, but you know, maybe you can sell it to yourself hard enough that. We'll see. In the FIDE,
He disagrees with our great plan to trade bishops. Just goes knight f4, queen d7.
Yeah. But I'm curious about the follow-up. Knight f4 we also did discuss, but I just couldn't really figure out what the next, like what was so attractive about it. So maybe just ef and h5. Yeah, ef and rook f6, d5 might be annoying. Possibly. Because yeah, ed knight d5, you can't really take on d5 at all, because queen takes d5 wins a full rook due to the intermediate check, and yeah, otherwise you probably at least lose the b6 pawn and maybe even more. Yeah, here after knight f6, no, hang on, knight e7?
Yeah, but it's not.
h1 in the end, but you have queen e8, right? Maybe I'm not winning. I thought maybe I was winning in this position, but queen e8 connects everything. Seems like it's not. And knight f6 is probably a draw, right?
Looks like.
Yeah, we're not winning this with white. Yeah, if rook d6 exists, I somehow thought it was just losing by force, but it doesn't seem to be losing by force.
If you go h5, you go g5.
Yeah, we can go h5 anyway, yeah, for sure. g5, g4, but 93 e5 is a very strong response, right? h5, g5, 93 looks kind of bad.
Oh no, how good is this?
Rook f5 is a strong move, yeah. In the meantime, chat is saying Sheriff is busted. He does look in a lot of danger there, yeah.
What happened? Was this?
They've gone there, and there was briefly a phantom g7, g6 on the board in this position, but it disappeared, so I don't know if he actually played it or not. Let me check. Yeah, the other sources do claim g6 is on the board, which is such an oof.
You have to go g6, something didn't go very well. No, you don't want to go bishop g7.
Yeah, I don't know what g6 is about. Yeah, I can't fathom the way your mind gets to this point. Like bishop b7, I understand. Not taking on d4, I understand. But how do you actually make this move? It's sort of, it seems like a waste of a tempo, and is also maybe actively counterproductive because it weakens some squares for the future. I don't know. Strange.
So this is the actual position on board.
This is what I'm seeing on some of the live transmissions I'm monitoring, because we do appear to be having some issues with the PGN files.
Can't take stuff. Like rook
I
c1.
think rook c1, e3, and knight e5 might just be winning.
No, I wanted this.
Bishop e5. No, g6 cannot be the move, right?
Oh no, this continues, but it looks lost somehow.
g3, h4, bishop h3.
g5, h4, f4.
Yeah.
g4, bishop h3, no?
Yeah, bishop h3 just wins, yeah. No, I think it must be a transmission error. But it briefly appeared on our screen as well. And it definitely is still on the screen, on my other screen. So I don't know what that means. g6 is a type of...
Shirov would play now, like it doesn't help. Even if you get bishop g7, I can go bishop t6. So
it just doesn't make any sense, yeah. Any sense at all. Should have used one take back. That's what caused the error, yeah. Sort of. Aha. Yeah, but jokes aside, the boards have been glitchier than usual for this tournament. I don't know why exactly, but
Matrix.
Yes. Have you watched the new Matrix?
No.
What made you pause?
No, I haven't seen it. Is it any good?
I also haven't seen it, but obviously people have opinions, and I've read some opinions, but you know.
What opinions do people have?
Well, all kinds. All kinds. I think the more generous opinions were saying that like the concept is great, but they were still
not let's do like the first Matrix but crappier.
I don't know. I was very much hoping you would tell me something about it, because I was wondering if I should watch it or no. It's just a mediocre movie, says Link No Power. Yeah, possible. Wouldn't be a shocker if it just wasn't very great without being very terrible either.
Queen f3 plate, gf plate, knight d4, and this sequence has appeared on the board. Rook a f8, and I guess the question is anybody better, and is it black?
Yeah, it definitely isn't white. But you get the feeling that if white kind of really wants to make sure it's a draw, they can make a draw by force here somehow. Even though I wasn't really able to figure out how, but I think if you trade one pair of rooks, which can be achieved pretty much immediately by, let's say, rook e5, bishop b4, rook f5. I think once a pair of rooks disappears, you're just never really pushing the a-pawn, because like the queen can just be parked on c6 and
run here.
I thought rook a5, a3, c5 actually wins it. Even though, I mean, it doesn't win the game, but it does kind of pick up the a-pawn, which is useful. Yeah, bishop b4, rook f5, g6, takes, and then I go, I don't know, king g2, king g7, queen c6, or whatever. And yeah, it's extremely unlikely anything goes anywhere in this position. And the mystery finally got solved in the Shirov game. Yeah, he ended up just taking on d4, which we suspect is not great, but at least, you know, this is a move you actually make here, as opposed to the nonsense we were discussing due to some weirdness in the live transmission. And the Andrei Shanklin game has actually been drawn by this point.
Sam showing he's well prepared. You can't catch him by just repeating a topical line. Yeah, good result, I guess, for both, but especially for Shanklin in the co-leaders battle.
Yeah, making a comfortable, possibly sort of entirely prepared draw with the black pieces in an important game is always good. Wanted to say now he has a rest day to prepare, but the rest day actually doesn't come until after the next round, so that would be a lie. Yuangi went with something very, very striking in their game, in that he just kind of completely abandoned the idea of trying to cash in on his advances. No, that's not what got played. I think he played d5.
Yeah, on the board is not updating. Probably here we are.
So yeah, d5 and bishop d5. Understandably, MVL doesn't want to get involved with e takes d5, e6. That would have been completely unnecessary. So knight takes, e d5, rook c8 also played by this point.
Isn't he just making a draw? Looks like he's just swapping down stuff.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he is a bit. It's like that famous-ish endgame from the King's Indian. You know which one I mean, right? From the bayonet.
From the bayonet attack.
Yeah, from the bayonet. Yeah, there's a very similar endgame there, but it feels like Black is several tempi up here compared, and even that endgame I think is supposed to be a draw, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we even have a choice here if b5 is a move, but also the
that's the one. Way. That's the one I'm talking about. Fe bishop takes bishop takes b6, but yeah, there should be some kind of a forced draw here. Like rook c4 actually trades h4 for a6. Like I guess rook a5 is the way to continue here. Rook h4, rook a6, but this has to be a draw. There's no way this is not a draw, even though
if it's still nominally better, right, with the a pawn.
Yeah. If it's not an immediate draw, I would prefer something else here, because here it runs kind of quickly with a4, a5, and so on. So maybe we do something.
It has to end peacefully, but
I think
why bother?
the way you save this position is you actually just trade the bishops. You go e4 and then bishop d4 against. I mean, you probably actually even doing it in this order seems very sound.
It seems okay.
Yeah, if we rook e4, rook a6, and maybe even just the immediate bishop d4 check, not really even caring very much about not being a pawn down in this rook ending. Just give the check and put the rook on d2 and g3, rook d2 or whatever. Yeah, it's just very safe. I guess including king. Like I'm slightly less.
Do we have to get our king out, or do we just do?
Yeah, this one I'm a bit worried suddenly, because I don't really like my king being cut off in this ending. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see, as in we'll see exactly how MVL will make a draw. I'm pretty sure he does not lose this. The way to create some issues for yourself here, I guess, would be to allow rook d8 check. At least one way to get into a bishop ending and the white king getting to e4 quicker than the black king gets to d5. Even though that probably is a draw anyway. But I would be kind of unhappy to allow that.
Also here, if I do play this move, what do you do? Rook d6? Or?
e6, rook d6 maybe, yeah. I mean, it feels unnecessary, but I suspect even this probably holds, like a5, bishop f8, and just why are we doing poorly?
Yeah, I was going to ask why are we worse?
Yeah. I think we're okay. Yeah, he chose not to. He's already taken on e5, so it's a bit academic. But yeah, b5 definitely was an option. I would have been.
He's not losing this.
Yeah, either way, probably. Yeah, bishop f6 is a decent move here. The issue is, I thought we can just go bishop f6, let's say, and wait for white to play rook a5 and only play rook c6 then. But white, annoyingly, I think, can actually take on a6 in that position, despite the pin. Bishop f6.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Bishop f6, rook a5.
Rook a5, rook c6, and I think we can take, because the king cannot really be shielded from checks here. Yeah, and that also doesn't help. So white efficiently unpins themselves quickly enough. Still probably is a draw.
No?
5 a4 here, or bishop h4 or e4 or anything. Yeah.
Start going for checkmate.
All
right. Will be draw. Rapport. Cat his knight from f4 to f5 magically.
As if by magic, yes. Should be slightly better, but it's not. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, nothing seems to be happening anywhere that we haven't already discussed. So how about we take a constitutional and come back in like 5 to 7 unspecified minutes?
Yep. Let's take a quick break. In the meantime, check out chess24.com. The code Grand Prix 2022 gets you 40% off, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, so let's send a challenge.
Here is challenging me. Nice graphics, easy to see. What are you thinking about? You're looking how it can be the most painful?
Exactly. Okay, fine.
That I give him up a phone. He wants to be even rude.
This is John. John loves to study chess. This is David. David loves to study chess as well, but efficiently. John spends more time setting up the board and figuring out what's on the page of his book than he gets to study. David likes to take it easy and use his time wisely. David has finished his exercise for today. John should try the same.
When I saw her for the first time, it was love at first sight. I love how rich and complex she is, how sharp and principled her first steps, how graceful her movement. Paris is a city of love. I've come to find my love for the French defense.
I'm ahead of the game. Well, the phone is always ringing. I'm caught up on the line. Got a string around my finger. Remember who am I? I'm a boss and I'm honestly off my rocker, but follow me. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I'm only ever slinging. I'm working overtime. Got a song and I'm the singer, the melody, the vibe. I'm a prodigy. Logically, I'm impossibly wanted. And they'll remember my name. They'll remember my name. Ooh, well, I'm ahead now. I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. Ooh,
e5. It's e5 Patzers.
A complete repertoire against 1 e4 based on 1 e5, now available to study with Chessable's unique Move Trainer technology. The backbone is the Marshall Gambit against the Spanish, with 3 knight f6 against the Italian. Jan Gustafsson has revisited all these lines he has played for 20 years and worked on as a second for Peter Lecco and Magnus Carlsen, amongst others, with the help of the most powerful engines out there, Leela 0 and Stockfish 10. This has led to many new discoveries and a repertoire ready to master on Chessable that can serve the student for a long chess career.
Maybe e4 doesn't exist after all.
e5. It's e5 Patzers.
Welcome to the new Chess24 playing experience. Play in light mode or dark mode. Choose from a range of time controls or create a custom game and get paired with players from around the world fast. Enjoy a polished playing experience while making moves on a fresh, responsive board to claim your victories. Train and improve with over 80,000 puzzles. And that's not all. Download now and discover what more you can enjoy in our brand new app.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our coverage of the third round of the FIDE Grand Prix. We are about 2 hours in, 2.5 hours, and we have 3 games finished already. Andrejkin has drawn against Sam Shankland, where Sam once again showed that he can't really be caught. In the opening, he's been extremely well prepared for a while now, but especially in Vikings, it really stood out how strong his opening preparation looked. And today was not an exception, where in this topical position he played this sort of new plan, Queen A5, Bishop C3, Queen C5. It seemed to equalize without any particular trouble. Peter, the Anish Giri game has also been drawn against Hare Krishna, as expected.
As expected, but he also found a very efficient way. Like Rook D1 is a clever move, but Anish's reaction is showing just how much leeway you have here, and just preferring not even to entertain the idea of suffering in some protracted queen down ending. Found this immediate draw. You can go up the board with the king, but you don't go further than the 5th anyway. So just a perpetual.
We could probably do this.
Here. I also somehow thought Rook 4 or 5. Honestly, until you put it on the board, I did not realize I was suggesting we self-made ourselves.
But that game ended in a draw, as did Grishuk Bakro, where Grishuk looked better, but he's clearly not in the mood to play chess. Played very, very quickly. Made draw against Etienne. That leaves us with 5 games still going. And I'm not sure what happened in Fedoseev Shirov. It looks like Fedoseev is taking a moment here to calculate. By a moment, I mean
quite some time already, right?
Quite some time. Trying to figure out if we can get a more precise number, but he did just play Bishop C7.
He took 22 minutes to play Queen C6.
Queen C6, 22 minutes.
Yeah, but Bishop C7 came instantly, because obviously Rook D8 is the only move Black can even make in this position, so not unexpected. Bishop C7. He just goes for the material, right? Rook C8, Queen B7 has to be the...
So he was trying to judge if he should play for the initiative with Rook C1 or E3 and then Rook C1, or grab the exchange, which is what he's done.
And looks like I'll stop cheating in a moment, but looks like both options are perfectly fine. Looks like Rook C1 was also very, very playable on move whatever number it is, 16. But what he is doing, just collecting the exchange while it's there, is also entirely legitimate. Black will have some compensation, because Black gets rid of arguably the better bishop of the bishop pair, and let's say we take, we play something like Queen B6. It doesn't really look all that horrible, and in particular if the queens come off. Let's say we, as an illustration, go, or that, let's say Rook C1, Queen. No, hang on. I will have to take with a knight there, right? I very much wanted for some reason to go A takes B6. But that after
this, no?
but after the capture, I will have to take with the knight to stop Queen C8 check. Meaning that I will not have access to the A file to play King E7, Rook A8, and so on. But even this position feels like you don't necessarily lose it more.
I wouldn't be very confident to win this with white.
Because the setup is reasonably sturdy. You play something like, I don't know, King E7, Rook H B8. You play 7 A5 to make sure the pawn before is sufficiently protected, and the opposite color bishops here make it difficult for white to, for instance, try to trade pieces. It's unclear how you simplify further, and the bishop on F1 probably goes to E2, but where does it go from E2 is very unclear to me. So Sheriff will, I'm pretty sure he's not happy about any of this, but it's definitely not the end of the world.
He's thinking here. What is he thinking about? Is there another move than Rook C8?
Bishop B7, I guess. You can give it up in a different way. But then maybe e3 is strong. Queen c4, and now we take on c4 and d8, and maybe this is awkward.
To lose, no?
Yeah, because the pawn on c4 might actually be under a lot of pressure after something like knight f4 or c1. Yeah, it's concrete, but it feels looser than the other option. We shall see. One more game that is also kind of hurtling towards the conclusion is the MVL game, and MVL actually did what we were advocating for, just completely, making sure that the bishops come off the board as soon as possible, and just
Also here we were talking about rook d2, rook a7. He took a tempo to free his king. Now he cuts off the white king. These rook endings are surprisingly easily drawn, I think. Like, it still looks scary upon down, but with these 2 versus 2, it's very hard to make anything happen, really.
Yeah, these are not that difficult to hold. The g3 pawn is just too weak. We play. I guess you can even play h5, even though you're not obliged to. But yeah, just go h5 and you chill. Even when a4 happens, you put the rook behind, and white can push it all the way to a6. But then, in order to do anything at all, you have to give up on g3. And yeah, once you do that, draw becomes very straightforward.
There's a question if Shirov is twice as old as the second oldest player. Shirov is what, like 47? Mamedyarov is like
Shirov is
39.
Shirov is 51, maybe.
Oh, right. Let's find out. He's born in
49, yeah. 49.
72, yeah? Oh, okay, 49.
Yeah. I was kind of, I also couldn't do math, but I thought he was born in 71. He's a bit older than, younger than the Gelfons and the Ivanchuks of, because they are basically like this group of players is the generation before mine. Like in my mind, this is the people who sort of came before let's say my generation, and they start in my mind with Khalif. Sort of for some reason, like the counting sort of starts with Alexander Khalifman, who I think is precisely 10 years my elder, and that makes me sort of overstate how old Shirov is, for instance, because he belongs to the same generation in my mind, and I kind of push him a bit further away from me. But yeah, incorrect.
Ivanchuk Gelfand, they're born in 69, like, or
I think so. Yeah,
I think Vishy is.
Yeah.
Ivanchuk, yes, 69. Gelfand is 68.
Yeah.
So no, Shirov is not twice as old as the second oldest player. There would be Mamedyarov. No, how old is Mamedyarov? He's in his late 30s. I think he's 83. Oh no, he's 85. Oh, I made him way too old as well. Apologies. 85. Ooh.
Yeah. Isn't Sasha 38? Yeah, Sasha might actually.
Grishuk is older here.
Second oldest here. Yeah. Peter, don't worry, says Zoram. I have a book called The Most Instructive Games of the Young Grandmasters, and both you and Shirov are in there. Yeah, you might not be very young yourself, Zoram, then. Or you're a connoisseur of chess books of all kinds, or both.
Bakro, how old is Bakro? He might be older than Grishuk.
How do we not know these
81
things?
or 82? No, he's also 83. Yeah, he's 39. He's a bit older than Sasha. By the way, to continue our Sasha debate, I've never heard anybody call Khalifman Sasha. Is he a Sasha?
Yeah, this exists. Yeah.
Okay, never heard it.
I call him Captain, my captain.
There you go.
I actually do. It's it's not a story made up just now. Not every single time, but there was a longish period where I called him nothing else, I think.
Why?
He is some kind of a authority figure of, no particular reason. It's just born out of genuine respect and fondness. Is maybe
do you call everyone you genuinely respect Captain, my captain, or do you just?
No, he was one of my earliest chess idols. Of a sort of slightly less heroic stature than Garry Kasparov, but kind of nearing that amount of idolhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we became friends, and it's this kind of a strange long-term relationship, which starts as a adulation from afar and then turns into something else.
Mamedyarov versus Pretke. Still trying to break through. And here, after rook a8, this position we had, he played bishop d3.
And yes, e5 was not taken here, because I guess rook b7 works a lot better. So yeah, bishop d3 is a clever move. Just stopping the queen b1 check, and also making sure that you are probably... Hang on a second. Couldn't we still play queen c5? I guess maybe Pretke doesn't want to play that bishop end, but you don't get the bishop ending. Yeah, like rook b7, queen c3. I thought it's just takes rook b8 check, but we can play bishop c8. Rook c8 I would hate myself as well, even though I suspect it's a draw. But that bishop ending I don't like. But bishop c8 seems fine, right? Bishop a6, rook c1 check, bishop f1, king h7. Might be dangerous for white.
Why?
Bishop a6 is...
Six, I can stop here.
You can play rook b6. I'm not sure I'm winning, but I think I'm definitely very safe here. Like bishop f5, rook b3, bishop c8 is just an immediate draw, but maybe I have more, but probably not. Yeah, these types of pins along the back rank, they provide plenty of counterplay normally.
What happened instead was queen to f8.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. It's probably just a kind of a passing move, not doing very much. And it provoked f2, f4, so I guess white didn't have anything immediate to do apart from that. But f4 is a very concrete move, because f5, queen takes d5 might actually be a threat now. It really spoils the white structure, but if you win a second pawn to go with it, maybe you're not that unhappy.
All right. Pretke also... he played bishop d7 now. I was going to say.
Yeah.
On the clock, but there comes a move.
Yeah, so he was basically saying, having provoked f4, I am just switching to the idea of playing very, very hard against the rook on a5. Yeah.
Here, does he want bishop b5 or?
I think it's just bishop c6 and then just double on the d file and say your pieces don't make any sense anymore.
Oh yeah, he might win.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very easy to imagine how black just completely turns the tables here and invades. Oh yeah, probably, yeah. Oof.
Rapport. Still somewhat winning this maneuvering battle, no?
Yeah.
The knight here. Now he's saying no exchanges for you.
Nothing much is happening, but yeah, the nothing much is generally going in white's favor, it feels like.
One day this will still be on the table.
Might actually be very soon if black does nothing, right? It might with knight c2 played, I think it might be a threat currently.
Misfeld is asking, Jan, how much coffee do you drink per day? This is a popular topic of debate. This is my second cup today, but they are big cups, so usually it's like 3 per day. But I take very small zips, therefore they last a while. Still too much, of course. Do you? How's your coffee, tea intake, Peter?
I do basically. There's a setting on my machine which says, like, you go in cup sizes from, I think it says my coffee, which I think you can set manually, but the machine confuses me, so I don't know how to set that. Then it goes espresso, normal coffee, large cup of coffee, and a very large cup of coffee. So I do 2 normals in the morning, and that's pretty much it. I don't drink any more coffee after that.
That's not a lot of coffee. Any tea in the mix?
This is tea, for instance. Yeah, I mean this.
Tea. What else do you drink? You're a healthy man these days, right? You just drink water?
I used to drink more water. I kind of gave up on drinking water. I don't know why. We used to be on this very strict, like 2 liters a day regimen, and then I think maybe because we like did that for 2 years straight at some point in like the early 2000s. I may have overdone the rationed water intake.
So you drank a lot of water for 2 years and then you quit?
I still drink some water, but not like I don't try specifically to hydrate using water, which was, yeah. There's a deli we go to reasonably nearby, which sells some kind of really kind of artsy artisanal ginger beer. So when they have that, and when I do go there, I buy like a box, and then all of it gets drunk by my kids, and I get none of it, and I feel very sad.
Wow. I did not expect this to go there, but this is very useful new information. Like you're trying to replace water with artsy ginger beer, but then your kids drink it.
Yeah, file it under too much information.
So is there alcohol in the ginger beer, or is it alcohol free but ginger free?
It's ginger beer is not an alcoholic drink. It's a soda. It's just kind of a nice fizzy thingy. You can put it in cocktails, but it's actually an ingredient of one of possibly, when done correctly, my all-time favorite cocktail. But the other ingredients for that cocktail are completely unavailable. So something called Dark and Stormy that people introduced to me when the one time I played in Bermuda, which requires very specific kinds of rum, which you just can't find.
Oh no, Dark and Stormy.
Yeah.
In the chess, meantime, Shirov gave up the exchange as expected. Rook c8 takes, bishop e7. Didn't rush back with the queen, and he tries to keep the queens on the board. Do you approve?
It's a very Shirov decision, right? It's a very Shirov choice. Just go queen e4 here instead of trying to minimize. White can still get the queens off, but I guess this is exactly the argument that he is making here. The queen in e4 is annoying enough, preventing bishop e2, or at least making bishop e2 less attractive, that white might have to spend a tempo or two playing queen f4 and then trading, which results in better situations than queen b6 would. I don't know if it's true though. I have a feeling you might ignore it. There's also queen takes a7. Like, this costs a tempo, but it's a healthy pawn we're picking up, and then we can go queen d4 and go back to trying to get the queens off the board.
Yeah, we'll revisit this. This might be the most exciting game going on currently. Just briefly, we have another draw in the Yu Yang Yi MVL as mentioned. With this pawn construction and G3 being weak, there's really nothing to try for white here.
Yeah, and Chad got briefly excited because the DGT board showed King E5 in this position. But that always is just the kings being placed in the center. Yeah.
In the middle of the board, King E5 would be sort of bad. Because
not great. Yeah. Not great.
If you keep your king here and wait for A7 to come and then go here, so there's no check and no rook H8. There's nothing to do for
Yep. Today does seem to be a somewhat quiet day because it also feels
tired.
Yeah, and I'm saying this unironically. I don't know about you. It's a tough tournament. There is a lot at stake, and also just playing classical with breaks such as they are these days between tournaments is not very easy.
Oh no, I wasn't being facetious when I said they're tired. The thing with stuff happening in the world and a lot of people having long breaks from classical and even travel didn't sound that easy for many participants. There are very, very legit reasons to be distracted and tired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 3 games already drawn. The Vitugov Tavatabai
3, 4, yeah.
4, yeah, and the Vitugov game also looks like there probably won't be very much happening there. Black got the absolute maximum, but I don't know if you can. Actually, I think I've seen Kramnik win some positions like this with Black. No, you just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, and then eventually you play either C5 or B5 and open something on the queen side, and then you might be in business. But I think those were rapid games. I think in a classical game it's much easier for white to keep everything under control. Black is of course entirely comfortable. The one weakness on F5 is covered.
Yeah, and it's noteworthy that Vitugov, great theoretician, great player, didn't get any pressure against his line. So maybe it's just, back in business.
Mm-hmm.
Or never went out of business. But for a moment, it was like, Black might hold this, but it's not much fun. And it might still be like that after G3. But if this is just a draw with the right setup and knight F3 is nothing, then the ball is very much back in white's court to try to come up with something here.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's always been my understanding of this line, and maybe it's sort of even more true now, is that basically it's not that white was ever supposed to be much better. Yes, there was the Carlsen-Kramnik game and the slight revival, but in general, the reason black players don't do it more often is simply that this type of gameplay is not to everybody's taste. It's just in particular that position that we've been kind of mentioning. We can maybe actually show what the gameplay looks like there after G3, bishop H4, G8, because what actually happens after is even more disgusting than this already disgusting position, because black goes knight F6, knight F4, knight H5, and then actually takes on F4, and you get this position where the bishop on G6 is just going to be there. They often also play H7, H5 to follow this up. I think this structure even.
Yeah, maybe we can force that with
so bishop B2 takes, and then we shuffle basically for all eternity, and it looks really, really ugly. But apparently those pawns just don't drop off. You can't.
Erwin Lamy loves playing this position.
You can. The material is so limited and the structure is so rigid that
there are not that many plans.
Mm-hmm. I think there was a Women's World Championship game which black eventually won from this structure, even because white overpressed. But in general, it just ends in a draw after an interminable 50 moves of nothing. But it's not like, obviously, even if you know you will always hold this, it's not something that very many people enjoy. So you don't see it as often.
Yeah. In the game right now, we'll see if Tabatabai finds a way to push for a win, but it looks like a threefold repetition. I don't know. Some rook somewhere. Follow some rook somewhere. Just around the corner.
Well, if you give, like, if white just completely ignores what black is doing, and black, let's say, goes, I don't know, rook c7 and then b6 and then c5, and white continues just passing obliviously, this might be dangerous, because, yeah, if the opponent gets from c6 to c4, you can easily imagine this being unpleasant. But yeah, obviously white is nowhere near obliged to not pay any attention.
So, what games?
Yeah, this one is
will provide the action. Richie.
Yeah, Richie can be counted upon. Yeah, e4 you absolutely always take. It's not even a question. Allowing e5 without opening some files in the center is
pretty much resigns.
Yeah, disgusting. Not happening. So DEFE is going to appear on the board. And now there's a question, because e5 is probably a threat. I'm saying probably because I can imagine, for instance, can I play, doesn't work exactly, but I wanted to suggest something weird. Can I play h5? Nah, it's just so weird. But my point was, if I play h5, which is a stupid move, which probably loses to like 10 different things, e5, knight e5, d5, queen d3, the trade happens, you go ef, and I play h4. This is why I played h5, basically, to have h5, h4 in this position, attacking the knight pair. But I think knight f4 still wins, regrettably. So my cunning plan is not cunning enough. Rook f6 looks
mentioned rook f6, so would not look.
Bishop g5 looks kind of. h5 is just a horrible move. I'm not suggesting we play h5. I was just trying to show the idea of meeting e5 with knight takes e5, and I was trying to strengthen it, because currently, if we do nothing and the same endgame happens, after rook d3, ef, we have no threats. It looks very beautiful. Black has a fantastic bishop on b7. The second bishop can be on d6 and so on. But we are a full piece down in an endgame. And if we can't generate a threat, we will eventually lose. Which prompted me to play h5. And h5, in sort of more general terms, is not a stupid move in these types of positions, because if we can chase away the knight on g3, the white center will become a lot more vulnerable. It doesn't work move by move, I think.
So what else is there for Vidit? c5, I'm not sure if I'm helping.
Exactly, yeah.
Cause by opening the b5.
I think we're making things worse, because now after e5, you have to care additionally about the fact that the bishop on b7 might be hanging in every single line. Doesn't feel like it's.
Can we do knight g4?
Knight g4 definitely is a move. Trying like knight 4 e5 is a genuine threat now, but bishop c4 might be extremely strong, because f7 is legitimately very, very weak right now. Black has no good way of protecting it at all.
What is the move, sir?
Sir. Knight h4 to stop. No, that allows bishop g5. Sorry, yeah, that's insane. Bishop d6.
Yeah, even here, bishop g5, then you take. Yeah,
I would take on
trying to figure out if e5, bishop e5 is leading anywhere, but
or maybe just knight e5 and then bishop e5 and play for kind of more long-term compensation. But bishop e5, queen d5 or something. But knight f4, yeah.
It's very hard to believe now.
It's too slow. Yeah, it doesn't feel
coordinated.
Like doesn't feel like enough.
If bishop takes, okay, probably. Similar issues?
Very similar, yeah. Very similar. And we are nearing a very, very difficult time trouble for both of them, but I think more so for Vidit, because I think we both kind of dislike his position since we...
Yeah, also, Rapport's moves look easier, no? Like he still has to calculate if e5 works, but
Yeah,
has the
maybe actually queen g4 just to kind of provoke e5 and then just go knight d5 or knight h5 maybe to get some pieces off the board.
If h3, where are you going?
I might actually just lose that. Yeah, that just loses. I wanted to go queen h4, but that legitimately drops the queen. Not the best idea. Yeah, then it's completely. I mean, provoking h3 makes e5 impossible for one move. So there's actually like half a point to it, but.
Next suggestion, queen here. Let's exchange stuff at least.
Yeah, I could see that. Takes, e5. And now we go bishop takes a6, b5, and flashbacks of the World Championship start.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah, here I guess the bishop can be saved by 3a4, but black is complete.
Yeah. At least black is happy, no?
Yeah, black is very happy. Black has tremendous play. So maybe it is queen c6. And also, I suspect if white moves the queen somewhere, we will very, very happily sacrifice this exchange on e4, right?
Hi, Jonas. Who was it? Sorry, my son just announcing his triumphant return. Hello. Hey.
Little Chestnut asks, how decent is Svidler? If you're using decent in a sense of like knocking on somebody's door early in the morning and asking, are you decent? I am fully clothed. Thank you for asking.
So you're not Donald Ducking it today?
No.
That's useful information. FIDE, 9 minutes.
Yeah, of the things we've discussed, queen c6 is currently by far my favorite. Because at least it does something about the threats.
Still no trickery here.
Rook e7.
e7. Whoa, that looks ugly. Oof.
Yeah, this is kind of unexpected.
Knight f5, he wants rook e4.
Yeah, I mean, we're ecstatic.
We're not doing that.
Prices, yeah.
Oof. And yeah, Bar, not thrilled either.
Yeah, Bar is really, really not in love with this. I wonder why. I guess it's some kind of e5, knight d5, and then something, and it just doesn't like the idea that we've allowed e5 so easily. Yeah,
also have bishop, no?
Bishop g5 might actually be
here, or
maybe even immediately.
Yeah.
Rook e7 is just such a strange move.
And it also didn't happen.
It's because he didn't play.
Too ugly move. Yeah, come on, stupid board. Stop misleading us.
Yeah.
Rook e6. Still a strange move, but a lot less strange than rook e7.
Yeah. What's the supposed reply to e5 here? I guess maybe he's just kind of happy with the Petrosian type.
Yeah, we saw this Petrosian game.
Yeah, like e5, knight g5, bishop f5, and then we just leave it there. Or play knight h4, but I guess after knight h4, white just takes on h7, not e6, and is quite happy about things. So we just leave it there and go queen e8 or whatever.
Now the question is this. If after rook e6, we should be tempted to do something else. Bishop c4, we can't. It takes here.
Yeah, we can still go bishop g5 and ask
d5. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
obviously that's positionally.
Yeah, I would prefer not to, unless it actually wins the game somehow, which it maybe might in some cases. Because d5, let's say if the rook goes back, we can just briefly put this on the board. Can I go like rook f6 and then bishop b2 or something?
Oh, okay, I was just gonna pin.
Oh, bishop g5. Yeah, bishop g5. I thought maybe. Yeah, bishop b7, knight f5.
Still a lot of pressure before black establishes control, no? Like if he ever does.
Yeah. Prod numbers does say d5 rook f6 is apparently quite strong.
Rook f6 is just crushing it.
Yeah, GF and then either the immediate knight h5. I wanted to go bishop b2 first and then knight h5. I thought that was maybe clever. And yeah, now knight h5, rook f1, knight eg3. Looks kind of horrible. Looks like you might be getting destroyed on the king side here.
It's also one of those that might play itself, yeah, even if you have a stuff for a move or two. Like, piece will just come, and the queen will find its way to h6 and will resign.
Yeah. Young Shaman says this looks gross. And yeah, it does indeed look kind of gross.
A young Shaman is shaming the black position?
He is raving about the shaming.
Nizahe is giving you credit for good pronunciation of shaman. Is this a recurring?
It is it's a very, very recurring bit, but not on this broadcast. Yeah, it's a recurring bit elsewhere.
In German we say shaman.
Also in Russian, also in parts of the English-speaking world, which is what creates the recurring bit.
b3.
Yeah, there's been some moves here.
What is happening here? Queen e4. Fedoseev says, give me pawn, sir. Give me file, sir. As usual, he's not backing down.
Yeah, b3 and yeah, bishop b4 check is an annoying threat. But I guess, like, if all else fails, we can go a3 here and just say, don't care.
How does this go? Bishop b4. We take rook c3. Can you go knight e4?
I'm going to try to go knight e4. Yeah, I don't know if I will succeed, but I will definitely try.
Of course. If I go queen d4, you're not even taking.
Queen a5. I think queen a5. Yeah, my hope was that queen a5 works, because the endgame I kind of hate. Yeah, the endgame is exactly bad. But queen a5 might be playable.
Let's see this. Not that I'm excited about it. So at least a perpetual, yeah?
Yeah, this should be a perpetual, yeah. Comfort, and yeah, with the back rank weak for black as well. It's not going to be more, but yeah, very comfortable perpetual. Yeah, it feels like a3 is just a logical move here. Just don't engage, take away some of the attacking options, and you know, the weakening of the b2 pawn seems kind of academic. I don't know how black uses that. And the time situation here, this is move 22. Alexei is down to 7 minutes, and Fedoseev has more, but also not a ton more. Going to be a sharp time trouble, I guess. Apart from AB and A3, there's really not very much else, right? Because you can't really ignore it very comfortably. And the move you very much want to make is bishop b2, but we still haven't solved the queen takes g2 problem, so we can't really do it yet. I guess you can play queen d4, but I really dislike the idea of giving up the pawn on a2, yeah, because it might be difficult to win it back.
This one we're not giving back easily.
Yeah, I mean, it probably does get picked up, but yeah, but there's a lot of initiative, and yeah, I don't really want to. Yeah, he goes AB. He's a very concrete player. I guess he just says bishop b4 check, I can go king d1 or something. I suspect he's not even planning to take on b4 at all.
Is this healthy?
I would,
a5 queen d4.
You know, with my history of, like, by this point almost 30 years of playing against Alexei. Actually, it is 30 years, because I lost to him in 91 in Gaussdal, I think. I would be doing something else, is what my point is. Like, I kind of believe in his attacking capabilities enough to probably not choose to keep my king on d1 if I have any other options. But yeah, Fedoseev clearly disagrees. Having
What does
said all
Engine
that,
say? Engine is approving of AB3, saying nothing wrong with it. Interesting.
yeah, doesn't hate it. He's actually the A3 was also good, but AB3 is preferred by the engine as far as I can tell at the very, very brief glance. Yeah, I mean, not being burdened with the history of getting mated by a certain player might be a useful thing in this particular instance. I may have lost a little bit too many games to Alexei by giving him those options. Yeah, Bishop B2 played by Richie is, I mean, it's a logical move. You're reinforcing your center, you're introducing the idea of D4, D5, but it feels a bit less
Giving up on the Bishop G5 option, but what is Black doing about D5 next move?
We did play Queen Knight G4, creating a
okay.
threat of a fork, yeah. But yeah, Queen B3, I think Richie, I mean, clearly you don't blunder Knight G4 because that's about the only active move Black has. And Queen B3 is now an indication that you want to play Bishop C4 next, which is quite a strong threat. And Knight E3, Rook F3 is completely... Is it? Can we go Knight E3 and maybe hope actually for Rook F3 and go Knight G2? At least, generate some play.
What is this? I'd be obviously scared.
Yeah, takes, and I don't know, Rook H6 or whatever, yeah, and just play. You definitely feel a lot better about your chances here, just from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, no, you can't do this with white, you might just lose.
Yeah. Vidit, on the other hand, just goes b6, b5, as we mentioned. Bishop c4 was a threat, so he just kind of hard stops those ideas. But now we can probably start expanding somehow. Yeah, I'm not very comfortable having given up on all the bishop g5 options and the rest of it. It feels like maybe this is a bit of an improvement for Black. In the meantime, I think the threefold was discovered in the V2Gov game. Just briefly to inform our viewers that
no surprise there.
The PGN parts there, up there, yeah, does say drawn up.
Yeah. So Tabatabai politely hinted at b6, c5. V2Gov said, no, thank you. The game ends peacefully. 5 draws today.
Yeah,
3 games going, but at least 2 of those are pretty exciting. The Aronian Pretke is going to continue for a bit, but is less exciting. Should be fairly straightforward draw with the rook so active, but some moves will be made.
I mean, if let's say the king was already somewhere around, like, if I could play g4 here without the king being cut off, and then play h4, h5, those positions people actually do lose. It's very relevant that the rook is on the 5th here, and that kind of a plan. But yeah, specifically here after, let's say, rook e2, there's just too much counterplay. You're not getting the position you're trying to get. Yeah. Once that happens, yeah, it's just a very, very easy draw. I just wanted to point out that this is the one plan, and this is why you always get told in these 3 against 4s that you want to put the pawn on h5 as early as possible, so that specifically this plan never happens. But yeah, Black has enough counterplay to make sure they don't lose to it.
So there should be one more draw.
Yeah.
Making sure all games remain drawn in that group. Is that correct? Yeah.
Looks like it, yeah. Yeah. UNG MVL drawn, and this is the game 6 of that group. So the entire first round produced 0 decisive games. There were plenty of opportunities, though. Like Pretke was winning against MVL, and then there was this extremely sharp MVL Mamedjarov game where Shah missed something which was very strong, but also kind of unfindable. Yeah, and then we have this, and we have the Fedoseev share of game, where the chat informs us that Alexei's rook b8 move was kind of poor. and he is now in a lot of trouble. And the best move wasn't bishop before check either, as far as I could tell. It was e6, e5. But now
White to stop queen d4, but
yeah,
why not
I think specifically to work against queen d4 and also create some ideas of d5, d4 in some positions. But he has played rook b8 instead, and now White can just push the queen away and then play bishop b2 and castle short. Like f3 here is very strong apparently, and let's say queen f5, bishop b2, or queen h4, g3, and then bishop b2. And apparently the counterplay kind of runs out, and White is left with just a very comfortable extra exchange.
All right, so Fedoseyev's fearlessness seems to be paying off here. The AB3. And also the earlier moves, I'm not sure if those were the best, but just grabbing the pawn here is not obvious either, I would say.
Yeah, we did mention it because you do want to, you know, if it's on offer and you don't seem to be losing by doing it, it's a reason. It makes conversions, like if eventually this is an endgame, you're much better off having picked it up along the way. But yeah, it definitely is a bit of a brave choice. Still hasn't played f3, but I suspect even without f3, he is still going to be better.
Yeah, if f3 works, it's also one of the first moves you think about. No, you want to get this out.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that, and we have FIDE going b5.
Yeah, and seemingly two more moves have been played: bishop c2 and rook c6.
Rook c6. Oh.
Yeah.
C2.
Bishop c2 is a useful move just to sidestep the knight takes e5 counterplay, and I think recreate the threat of e4, e5. Also stops knight e3, of course. And rook c6 is a very, very awkward reply, but yeah, FIDE is trying to kind of get some things in the way of the threats. Currently, rook c2, knight e3 is a very nice counter threat, which will not be allowed.
So in an ideal world, I'd like rook on e1 or d1, probably e1, bishop b1, and then start.
Yeah,
pushing.
That kind of wins, even though it doesn't really do very much currently. But yeah, if that happens, you feel like after that you're so prepared that you'll just get there. But rook c2 is a very strong threat, so I guess you just play rook bc1 or
c1.
Yeah.
No.
Rook c2, rook c2. Yeah. And this is why we need the rook on c1 to not have to take the queen. Yeah, there seems to be no follow-up whatsoever. And yeah, and then you just start pushing the black pieces away. Even h3 becomes very much a topic now that we've stabilized. Queen f3 is also like queen f3 and followed by bishop b3 might be extremely strong as a kind of an idea here. Yeah, black's in trouble. Richie is also doing okay on the clock. Both of them don't have very much time, but it's not like a minute against 20, which would have given black additional hope.
Still, this could be an exciting 20, or in reality, it's probably like 30 minutes because I get 30 seconds extra per move. A lot to play for. And yeah, why doesn't this update? Here.
Apart from rook bc1, which we've explained, what else do we even have?
Sorry, I have to keep doing this manually, which is very upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, with rook c2 being such a strong threat, it might just be forced, which would help.
Yeah, I mean, having played bishop c2, and rook takes c2 being so telegraphed, you do know you have to parry it somehow, and the other ways of parrying it are probably like rook f3, and rook f3 looks more awkward than rook bc1.
The thing is, if black doesn't continue creating threats, he just loses, no? Like once the pawns are coming.
Yeah. Can't white play knight f5 here, asks Mala56, instead of rook bc1, I guess. Yeah. It just feels that we're kind of slightly overcommitting before everything is ready, and allowing black maybe to play something like, unless it gets mated. I was wondering about knight e7. I would very much like to trade something here as black, like just get something off the board. And this also reinstates the threat of rook takes c2, with the knight on f5 potentially being traded away. I'm kind of... Queen f7.
What happened there? Yeah.
Queen f7.
I was just staring at it, but there's no
Bishop b3
checkmate.
check, king e8, knight d6 check. But unfortunately, there's queen takes d6. I got so excited for a second there. Yeah. There's also rook c4 and everything, but I wanted to show this position and be very, very happy, but sadly,
so close.
Yeah, so close and yet so far. And knight h6 allows knight takes h6. This may have worked, but
here knight d6.
Knight d6 maybe, yeah. We do have knight g8 though, so maybe we are overreacting. We can just take with something like queen d6, and it's not actually mate.
Almost,
but not quite.
They played an actual chess moves instead, and yeah, knight f5 was played, and rook e8.
Rook e8 chosen by
knowing this threat.
Yeah. This is why I was less happy with knight f5, because unless it kind of wins straight away, which I don't currently see how.
Keep building, discover stuff.
Knight eg3. Is there a way to challenge this setup?
Looks pretty sturdy.
Looks very sturdy, actually. Yeah. Yeah, knight eg3 played by Richie. Solid choice.
Computer approves.
Yeah.
What did computer want instead of rook e8? There must be some way, no? The bar just jumped.
Let me check.
No,
it is playing knight e7, and it's still bad, but getting one pair of knights off the board, like knight eg3 still gives white a large advantage, but it's clearly an improvement, because we can like take and maybe play rook g6 or something and bring some pieces into the defense. Yeah, and now it's back to being really, really bad after rook e8, knight g3. And yeah, considering it's a position with equal material and currently no like optically immediately winning threats, the length of the bar should give some indication as to how bad it is to allow these types of structures and not have any useful challenges for the white center.
What's the longest bar you've ever been to?
Trying to recall some bars. They're all kind of normal length, right? Is there... I wonder what the Guinness record is for the longest, specifically like the serving surface.
It's in Düsseldorf.
Is it?
It's what they claim. Die längste Theke der Welt. This looks...
Yeah,
nothing attacks anything anymore. He's run out of...
I wonder how, like, I keep on trying to play knight e7 anyway, but I assume now this loses to some, maybe knight takes g7 wins or something, I don't know. Because if knight e7 is playable, I don't understand why it's as bad as the computer evaluation claims. Because it's, like, if you allow knight takes f5, it's very similar to the previous line. Rook e8 was actually the move that we were making in some of those positions, but probably some tactics.
Something happens to you.
Yeah, like knight g7, bishop g7. I can't figure it out to the end. Like queen f7, king h8, d5, rook g6. I got to here, and I still don't know why this is losing. Maybe knight h5 on the previous move. Maybe this is the way. Yeah. Just go knight h5 here, force a rook to defend the bishop, and then go knight g7, rook takes, and d5. This looks useful, yeah. Useful, yeah. Even here after rook eg8, I don't see any forced mate. I just kind of know white is winning, but doesn't seem to be immediately collapsing. Yeah. A6, A5 played by Vidit is kind of...
Oof, that's not a sign that things are going great.
Desperately trying to create something on the other side of the board, but yeah, that should be... Even BA doesn't look bad, if we're honest, but there's probably also better things to do on the king side.
Scissors is asking, are there any teetotalers in Germany? What kind of question is that? Are you assuming it's, or are you asking if there's anybody that doesn't drink alcohol in Germany? I would guess you can find.
A person or two, yeah. Yeah. How's your quest to start drinking more progressing?
It's still ongoing. I am very committed to drinking more alcohol, but I'm not there yet to drink by myself, and I never really go anywhere. So no one told me that this quest might have to be combined with make some friends, and that seems like a lot of work just to pick up drinking.
Yeah, that seems like... Yeah.
And my kids, I'll have to wait for a bit until I can drink with them. Sometimes I have like a glass of wine with my wife for dinner, but that happens very rarely, first of all. And it doesn't really feel like drinking either. So no, it's going poorly, to be honest.
Yeah. Can relate.
A5, bishop d3.
Yeah, bishop d3 is a kind of annoying move to face because b5 is hanging and you don't really... Like, the bishop also got removed from a square where it could have been sacrificed for. So I can then proceed to the same plan of giving mate on the king side. a4 queen d1 wins on the spot, I think, because the knight on g4 gets hit by the queen, and then bishop takes b5 just wins the entire house. Yeah.
Very cynical, Richie. He's not even going for checkmate. He's just saying, "Whoa, a5, new weakness. Let me hit that as well and see how you go."
Yep. We can maybe leave this for a second because there have been some developments in the Shirov game, and looks like it's nearing some kind of a conclusion. Probably White is winning, but yeah, Shirov did manage to kind of give up more material to generate threats.
h6, bishop e2, g6 finally happens. Knight e5.
Yeah,
he really is never in the mood to make a normal move when there is a concrete solution.
Yeah, like no king f2 for Vlad here, which I think I would have played without thinking. Like, just
let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Rook b3, knight d7, knight d7, and I guess he just takes on d7 and says mate is a figment of people's imagination. And yeah, you barely have one check here, sir, which might very well be true.
You only get one check.
Because you can play bishop before check, but king f1 is a very comfortable square. And also, importantly, the moment white plays rook c7, you kind of start questioning who exactly is going to be giving mate in this game if the bishop leaves the e7 square. Yeah, I just don't see how we could... queen h3 and then bishop d2 or something. Interesting that he hasn't taken yet. Like, having gone knight e5 and knight d7, what exactly is your other option? Even here, I think we win with... I think you're probably better off playing king f2 though, right? Because this looks scary, but if you play king f2... Now after bishop g2, we can go like queen c8 check and rook c3 and... Or the immediate rook c3, yeah, we don't need to be too greedy. Yeah, seems like we're headed towards something like this, and some only moves might have to be made, but it doesn't look like white is going to be too hard-pressed to find them. They feel like very natural moves in general. In the meantime, yeah, Bishop d3, rook c6, ba, and yeah, Vidit has to continue making unbelievably unpleasant moves like c7, c6 here. Yeah, this is just...
One more source of counterplay out of the game. He's also a pawn down now. Not that that's the decisive factor, but doesn't speak well for the overall chances to make a comeback.
And I guess if you want to be extremely cynical here, you can go d5, cd5, bishop takes b5, and just win in a very kind of boring technical fashion. Because after bishop c6, I have e takes d5, and I actually win an exchange, I think.
That is
either here or after. Yeah, this just...
But probably winning.
Some rook d1, yeah, rook b d1 or whatever, h3 or rook f3 or something.
But Monsieur Rapport is saying
no need, yeah. Also very understandably.
There's no counterplay anymore. No, c5 doesn't work. h3 is coming. White can pick up more material at his leisure, and there's just no hope.
Yeah, it looks completely busted because White is, as you mentioned, the pawn up, and also like with the bishop getting closed by c7, c6, White is absolutely free to continue pressing in the center, knowing that there will be no counterplay on the king's side at all. Vidit also has 50 seconds against 10 minutes, so a series of unfortunate events.
Very much so.
Yeah, this will be a draw.
You usually play this out for quite a while with the extra pawn, but there's very little to hope for. Where do you go with the king now? Do you go here? Or do you go here?
I think h5 is...
Keep an eye.
Yeah, keep an eye on that. But
that guy.
I don't think it's sort of all the same. I'm trying to think of the way to just make sure White remains completely uninterested. But
no, h5 makes a lot of sense. No, you return.
And then after rook f4, yeah, we just go back, right? We don't actually stay on h5. We just go back, and if we get to play f6, f5, we play f6, f5 quite happily. And yeah, it's not difficult. Like occasionally, I get to defend these types of positions against strong players, and I start having these visions of, slowly but surely making enough inaccurate moves that I lose. But I don't think I've lost very many, actually. It's just scarier than it actually is in my mind. I did lose on the defensive side of an H and F recently in an online tournament in about 15 moves. No chance whatsoever. Like that was very, very inglorious.
Do you just say H and F?
I didn't like you accusing me of swearing yesterday. So
that's why you changed it around? Because it still sounds wrong.
It sounds extremely wrong, but it's no longer.
I'm being criticized here for saying leisure, and you just get away with H and F. It's F and H.
Yeah. F and H.
The horses are coming.
And Sheriff did something really strange. If that is actually what he played. What am I missing? Why is rook c7 not mate?
Probably the queen stopping halfway.
To c1, yeah.
To c1, I don't think this is the game. I know there was a pawn, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. But like, what am I understand he has a minute and a half, but this is Alexei Sheriff. He is not bad at tactics, and this is not a difficult move.
I don't think Fedoseev is bad at tactics either.
Yeah, he's already played it. Yeah, so I guess it's not a transmission error, and you just resign here because you don't even have, apart from queen takes f3 and queen takes e2 and queen f2 and queen g1 and queen c1, you don't even have checks. Notice how expertly I listed all the checks before saying you don't have any checks. Not going to get noticed.
Pumpkin the Cat saying, am I too much of a boomer to know what BHF is? That's train station in German. I don't have any other BHF references. Is that a Korean pop group?
Yeah. No, that's BTC.
Bitcoin?
I was kind of trying to play that game where you give a wrong definition of things, but very half-heartedly.
Is that popular in your Reddit threads that you frequent?
Very, very upsetting insinuations being thrown around.
Just trying to learn.
Despite appearances, I am not actually a Redditor.
You're not? That does genuinely surprise me. You're not on Reddit?
No.
Ooh. A lot of Peter Svidler information we're gaining today. Has replaced water with ginger beer. Is not on Reddit.
Yeah. Peter does look like a Redditor, says Ilya Chasnik. Yeah, I know. This is why I said despite appearances. Yeah, this is just completely winning for white, like rook d6, rook f1. Even the rook f1.
He's an exchange and material up, no?
Yeah, he's doing well.
Exchange and material and exchange and pawn.
Yeah. Visit obviously kind of, he started really, really well. He was on 2 out of 2 before this game and doesn't want to abandon all hope yet. And like in a blitz game, there's maybe still some chances white blunders c6, c5 somewhere, and then queen takes h3 and then get mated. But
no one's believing your claim. You're not a Redditor.
Peter created our anarchy chess. Yeah, it's all my perfidious influence. This is very resignable, though.
Yeah, usually with little time, you make it to move 40, you have a look around.
Yeah, and
get yourself some water or ginger beer and then resign.
Yeah. There can never be too much ginger beer. He doesn't have very far to go. Like this being move 36, if you can find 5 moves to make in this position, you probably do make them just to get to move 40 and take a breather. But yeah, he knows and we know. Rook b8.
That can't be better than resigning.
I mean, he wants to go rook bf1, f5, and hope for rook takes f7, queen takes h3.
f5?
Sorry, c5. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But there are some drawbacks to this plan, such as rook takes f7 is not necessarily all that forced.
What's the likelihood of this sequence happening?
Between 0 and -1%.
Is that another Reddit joke?
No, that's. I'm sure it is on Reddit by now, but it's not a Reddit joke originally.
How? Yeah. Okay. We have to continue this investigation because Peter replied very, very quickly that it wasn't on Reddit. Then he tried to fix it up, but he clearly knew. So how do we wrap this up?
He played bishop b4, which I think is a very solid choice here.
That's saying, sir, I will not miss any tricks on this diagonal. Would you mind resigning?
Yeah, kind of would you mind resigning is a very important part of it, yes. Can we please go home now, sir? But yeah, Vidit says no, goes c5. Bishop b7, c4. progress is being made, but the position remains completely and utterly lost. Like queen f3, rook b7, bishop c3, and probably somewhere here you do resign.
Somewhere here you lose the will to continue much. No?
You just kind of sit there and think to yourself, you just don't want to be looking at this position anymore, because you kind of know it's not going to end well.
Speaking of end well, the Shirov game has ended well for Fedoseev.
Absolutely.
After rook c7 because of the mate. So yeah, Fedoseev brazenly took all the material and beats Alexei Shirov.
Yeah,
leaves
bringing him back to 50%, and if Richard wins today, so then the cross table in that group will be Richard and Viditon +1, Fedoseev on 50%, and Alexei Shirov on -2. Not having
mention it's sort of important for Richard to stop Vidic, who was on 2 out of 2.
Absolutely, yeah. So, one of those the points count double kind of games, which is.
I never understood that math, but I'm sure it's been.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say that it's an unnecessary way of describing things, but people do say those things for some reason.
They do, don't they? Vidic does resign.
Yep.
That leaves us with the excitement that is Mamedyarov Pretke.
Yeah, Shach will continue playing this, but yeah, despite White, having a rook behind an outside passer, I suspect it's still not a very difficult draw, because you can just move the rook away from h5 and play h5 check, king h6 if it gets pushed forward, and then it gets picked up quite comfortably, because there's really no way to improve on that setup.
Yeah.
Might go on for a while though. Although, I mean, knowing Shahryar, he doesn't offer a draw here, but he doesn't also sit there thinking for 20 minutes about ways of winning this position, because he does know he's, under normal circumstances, just not winning this position. So he'll make some moves, but
yeah, I think most time spent will be by Pretke.
Yeah.
Rook f5 check, king g4 has apparently happened.
Yeah, and just go, I don't know, rook e5 or rook a5 or wherever. Yeah, e5 is logical. Yeah, just not a very difficult position to hold. Might be a short round then if this actually does disappear in the near future.
What are we going to do with ourselves then?
Enjoy life to the fullest. Here's the plan.
Did you know that short round in the Indiana Jones movie was played by Jonathan K. Kwan?
No.
Now we know.
Now we know.
Shahryar Mamedyarov, the Azeri, I guess #1. Is he higher rated than Rajov? Probably is.
Probably, yeah.
Trying to defeat underdog ? Pretke hasn't played like an underdog at all in this event so far, but by rating and experience, he's so.
Absolutely, he's one of the lower rated players in the entire event, and sort of almost entirely unknown in the West, I would say. Apart from the sort of the professional circle where he is recognized as somebody who is quite good without ever having gotten any invitations or things of that nature. So, yeah, he had a very, very good Grand Swiss, and I think he basically qualified for the Grand Prix by beating Nikita Vichugov with the black pieces in the Grand Swiss, I think round 10, where they played what felt, I think, to both of them like a must-win game. So Nikita went pretty much all in some extremely risky Nimzo with white, and Very, very interesting game. Very much recommended if you like very sharp nimzos with changes of structure and changes of material balance and all those good things.
I agree with all of that except for the Pretsky part. That was Oparin.
That was a part, yeah. I mean, excellent game.
F5 played. Yeah, that's not much. Not much here.
Yep. Yeah, I got that wrong, Artie Bear. I described the game quite fairly, I think, but it just wasn't a Predke game. It was a Vitugov Aparin game from, I think, round 10 of the Riga Grand Swiss. Still a good game to look at if you want. Yeah, Predke played that game, which I think won Novelty of the Year potentially. I think I've seen that won some prizes. That game against.
Hey, Jonas, kannst du nachsagen? Ja? Kannst du sagen? Huh? Hey. My son is saying good night.
It's a bit early for that.
Gehst schon ins Bett? Yeah, these kids, they sleep a lot.
Yeah. The same applies to puppies, apparently. Puppies sleep up to 16 hours a day.
That's probably even more than my kids. Klapper, Jonas. Hab's hier? Tschüss.
So yeah, we were talking about the.
My son is 24 years old, in case you wonder.
Yeah. Never know when something like this is coming. Yeah, and with this setup established, we just go like rook h5, rook e5, rook h5, rook e5, and white just can't get anywhere. Why does he have to wait to drink with you then? That's a very fair question from Deeps.
Touché.
Yeah, as opposed to sushi. Is Shark seriously playing this? Yes, because why not? I mean, it costs you nothing, and he's also not really wasting neither his nor Predke's time by overthinking what really is a trivial endgame. I agree with the point that it being a trivial endgame, there's really no downside.
Yeah,
I
said all that. Draw agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's briefly look at standings. Today was 8 draws. No, Rapper won 7 draws.
No, Fedorsev also won.
6 draws. Rapper win. Fedorsev win. My memory is amazing. And that leads us to these standings. Bunch of draws in the Mamedyarov group. Geary cruising. But as we've seen from FIDE today, all it takes is one loss, and it's wide open again.
Mm-hmm.
Rapport FIDE tight, Fedorsev in close pursuit. Shirov will have a rough time winning that group. Andreikin and Schenkland, same situation. Bakro half point behind, and Grishuk well behind.
Yeah. So tomorrow is the first round of the second go of it for all of these players. Which rounds get swapped, by the way, in a 4-player double round robin? Is it 5 and 6 or 4 and 5? You can actually look this up, I guess, right?
I'll just say 4 and 5 and pretend like I understood the question. 4 and 5 is no rounds. They swap. That
is seemingly incorrect, but who knows? Yeah, the point being that in a double
5 and 6, I meant 5 and 6.
Yeah, in a double round robin, if you don't, you need to swap 2 rounds in the second leg, because otherwise somebody will get 3 whites and somebody will get 3 blacks. So that gets done somewhere. And judging by the pairings I'm looking at on the Chess24 website, they're playing the same games they played in round 1 with colors reversed tomorrow, so it's not round 4. So yeah, plenty of action yet to come in the Grand Prix. Anish is in a very, very good spot, but he's really the only one who is, with the Vidit loss today, he is the only one who feels extremely confident, I would guess, with his chances. Everything else is very much up in the air. One more round tomorrow, then there's a rest day, and then 2 more rounds, followed potentially, judging by how close the groups are, very likely, I would say, by some tie breaks on, I want to say, Tuesday? But days of the week are difficult.
Sounds about right. I think the TUE stands for Tuesday. Yeah, plenty chess action to come. Thank you so much for watching, hanging out with us. More tomorrow. If you want to support the show and improve your chess, pay a visit to chess24.com. Contemplate. Prix membership gets you 40% off and gives you access to all the banter blitzes, the video series, all the good stuff. Check it out. See you soon.
See you soon.